Everybody, and welcome back to the Wildcard Podcast. It's been a long time. It's been about a month. Gee, obviously, the last time we talked, it was about who would get into that magical spot in T5. Will we see a surprise winner? Who would run the gauntlet? And we did get in a winner, but we also had a lot that came up as well. We wrapped up a whole D2 championship, which was nice to see. Wrapped up the whole Super League discussion in terms of who made it. Got the groups done. Got some predictions we're going to look into, and just who do you think can win it all? We'll find out. But first, let's get to T5 and G, your opening thoughts on what's been a wild last 30 days since we last talked.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while. Some stuff happened and whatnot, but we're finally back here. Gonna summarize what happened at the end of Space September. Also go over the D2 Championship, which happened in this span of time, and then also take a look at Super League, which was announced, I think, like 2 days ago. So, lot on the plate here. This is likely going to be a long one, so sit back and get ready for this because we're gonna have a lot to cover here in this episode.
We'll go with the first game. G, this one was not really much of a game, unfortunately. It was Alan Toasty. Yeah, I believe you were hosting this one? I don't know. I don't think I was because this was a late game due to time constraints, but from what I could gather about a month ago, it just seemed like Toaster Guy was playing that strategy where he does it, get to Uno and test it, but Allen just seemed to have the read. And I gotta say, G Allen probably I would say would be my player of the tournament. The fact that he had nothing going on the whole year to make a Final Four in his, I guess, situation, right? It wasn't the most ideal situation for him the whole year. It's pretty impressive. Now for Toaster Guy, we'll see where his fate lies, but great season overall. Your thoughts on Allen making a Final 4G real quickly? I didn't have much to say on this one. I wasn't here for this one.
Yeah, I mean, I was the one. I was pretty one. I was streamed this game. I thought Allen put
Yes.
up a good performance. I mean, Toaster Guy unfortunately didn't get the job done, but I mean, throughout his entire run, he really did a lot here. So we'll see how he does in terms of whether he made Super League or not. But I think Allen with this big comeback trail. I mean, we've seen two runs similar to this in the season. I mean, ironically, Toaster Guy himself in May, and then I would throw in Ziemba from also May, I think. Yeah, also May. So, oh, that one was to the round of eight. But I mean, we've had these runs where people with no wins just make a deep run in one tournament and able to capitalize on it. So Allen makes it to the Final Four again. He had to win this tournament to make it in the Super League. So still had two more matches to go, but we'll just keep moving along here because I don't. In terms of gameplay, I don't really have much to say. I think Allen played a clean game, and Tozer Guy. I think he tried his best, but I think some of the cards were just not in his favor that night.
Right, and we'll switch it up now. Usually we'll, as we always do in the Elite, we'll go the opposite region to get to the Final Four. In the opposite region, it was a game between William Brock, JT. I'm going to be honest with you, G. I think JT kind of knew, right? Had the Sanford win, really did a good job all season. I don't think he took this game to the point where he was stressing out. He was trying something really experimental, was trying to understand Brock's strategy. Brock just capitalized, man. He was hungrier. He knew that with that huge Vapor win, a JT win would pretty much lock him in terms of not only the Final Four, but a really good chance at Super League. He took the opportunity and capitalized on it. I think just him finding a way to be on the ball got the job done. Congratulations to Brock. He moves on to play Allen. And ironically, Brock will get home table because Allen was a 13th seed. Your thoughts on Brock? He was your man the whole tournament.
I am going to slightly disagree with you on the not trying part. I think Turner did try because he still had a lot of play for. He was still in contention to get a top six seed for a bye, but I mean, I think Brock, again, I do agree with the fact that Brock was hungrier, and I mean, he definitely was able to come out swinging, and I mean, this is a big win for Brock. This is a really good win for his resume, which he really was looking for in this tournament with this run, but he makes it to the Final Four for the first time this season. He's peaking at the right time, and I was impressed with Brock in this one because this is the Brock we've been used to seeing back in the Victory Lane days. So makes it to the Final Four. That would be Brock versus Allen in that Final Four matchup. We'll cover that in a bit, but yeah, Brock continues this really great run, and we'll see how far he goes.
Yeah, congratulations to WB. He moves on. Now we'll go back up to the Mars region. This was probably the best game of the round. Ashley was up 3-1 early, a lot of momentum, but Tago found a way. We know Tago's very good with the light switch, and it just seemed he had a little bit more of that edge on the switch and was able to effectively get it done. For Ashley, though, Jay, I mean, what a season. it's hard to really say much about her season other than it was been fantastic. Double second, a fifth. I mean, every single tournament other than one, 75% of the time she was either getting a runner-up or a top 5. Pretty dang special for sure, especially missing a tournament. But for Tago, he makes his second Final Four, trying to avenge that Yoshi loss back in Masquerade May. Big win for Tago. He built the momentum. That's how I saw it. It was a great game. Sunday afternoon, high noon showdown. Probably the best game of this Pacific round for sure. Thoughts on this one, G, on Tago's big run here and Ashley's season, which was fantastic for sure.
I mean, I'm going to focus more on Tago here because this was an absolutely huge win that he needed because, I mean, throughout this run, he didn't really get any wins that were significant in terms of this season's quads. I mean, he did get the win on me, but, I mean, this season, that's not going to really do you much. And then beat Radden in round of 16. But, I mean, this was a huge, huge win to get to help his chances for going further into Super League. Because, I mean, I think this win pretty much confirmed he was going to make the field, but to get that and still have a chance at winning the whole thing, I think that put Tago in a really good spot going into this one. And I mean, he was outside the top 6 going into this tournament, so I mean, a win like that could really help his chances at getting one of those buys. So yeah, I mean, really good win for Tago, and I mean, really great season for Ashley. I mean, if we ignore the May slip up, really just 3 regional final appearances in the other 3 tournaments she was in. It's really impressive with 2 finales as well. So she proved she was a tough player to beat, and I mean, absolutely makes Super League even though she didn't get a tournament win. So we'll see where she ends up when we cover that.
Absolutely, and then we move on to the last game. This was unfortunately just not the best game, and you know we've always talked about this, been a running theme since he joined the league with Caesar. Can he win the big one? And he did get one last year, but that was kind of vowed in controversy with the whole incident. But it just seemed like Cap had his number. That low tide stuff, Cap just found a way. I think Caesar just got outmatched. I don't really have much to say. I think Cap just was too much for Caesar, unfortunately. Is that how you saw it? I don't got much to say here.
I mean, yeah, it's also kind of just like this. This
Yeah.
wasn't. It was the worst match of this round, and I think this is the only one I can do it because I thought both Final Four games were pretty good. But it was just it was literally, I think, the most, unfortunately, one of the more predictable matches based off what we knew about both players, and it was literally just exactly how we predicted it, which is kind of unfortunate. Um, it was pretty. I mean, Caesar had to win his homestands. He won game 3, but as soon as he lost game 4, I felt it was over. And I mean, it kind of was, because that was the only one he won, and I mean, we kind of ran low, and yeah, unfortunately for Caesar, that was the moment he needed to win because that was pretty much his season on the line, and I think out of all the opponents he could have got for that, he got probably the worst option for him, and unfortunately it did show. So, unfortunate way for Caesar's season to likely end. But for Captain, another Final Four really helps his resume, and we'll see how he did in the Final Four. But I mean, good performance from Captain, did what we were expecting him to do, and unfortunately for Caesar, just kind of an unfortunate way to end his year because he definitely needed that win and did not get it, unfortunately.
Another 2024 off season into a 2025 regular season. We'll see if Caesar can capture some magic and win the big one again. Now, the GI was once again, for those of you who don't know, that bot incident that happened back in, it was late August. It kind of backed up my last week of September, so a lot of scheduling arrangement. I think Allen was moving or something. Was it 6-2 or was it 6? I don't remember the score.
It was 6-2.
Okay. Because it says 6-3 on the log. That's a little weird. I'll have to look into that. That's okay. Maybe they made an error. It probably was 6-2 though. I'll believe you. I didn't see this game, and even when looking back at this game, I'm gonna be honest. I don't have any words on this one. This just seemed like Brock had more EXP. I think we both kind of said it too, G. I think before we had this podcast, we had no idea what Allen would be in a best of 11 situation. I think he was just
Okay,
unfortunately
wait, no,
bumping
it was 6-3. Never mind. That got recorded
Yeah, I
wrong.
was looking at the matchup.
It was 6-3. It was 6-3.
Regardless, though, I think Allen just unfortunately he didn't have the experience compared to a best of 9 or 7, right? I think a best of 11 is a different beast. Brock has done this before in VL where we used to do best of 9s and best of 11s. He seemed to have the edge. I'm going to call this one down. Brock won the rookie class too, by the way, off this game, and it came down. I think he just had a little more experience on long endurance games. Is that how you saw it, G? Because I don't really have much to say on this one. I really didn't cover this much as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I think a big part of this was the length and also the fact that Brock got 12 plus fours, which really
Oh,
doesn't help Allen much. But I mean, yeah, Brock kind of just ran through it. Kind of just did the game plan and pretty much just executed when he could. I mean, again, the plus fours do help a lot when it was 12 to 4 on that, but it kind of is what it is for that. Allen had a good run. Again, we said it before, he needed to win this tournament to make Super League. So a Final Four, even though really great run, not going to be enough to make the playoffs. But I mean, I think this run gives hope for next season. Because I mean, he wasn't really able to do much throughout the year. But I mean, popped off in space September, so maybe there's hope that that could happen next season. But we'll see what happens to that. But besides that, Brock made the final. I my exit one basket pick has worked out wonderfully, so we'll see if he wins the whole thing. But yeah, I mean, Brock just kind of ran through the motions here. That was about it. I wouldn't say it was anything like absurdly impressive. Just kind of ran through it, but still got the job done and makes it to the final.
Yeah, we wish Allen the best. Of course, had a rough year, and Brock, what a run, man! Round one to final. And the last game before we get to that final title, Cap, this was a great game. G, back and forth. Cap, I thought right there and then that 5 and 6 was cooking. But once again, we talk about this. Tago was able to flip the momentum on the higher stuff. Cap tried to bank on the low stuff. Did a great job on a 5 in game 10 to get to that elusive game 11. But I think the one thing I do notice, G, is because we know Cap will be in Super League because we won a tournament. I'm interested to see what Cap can do when it is MCSR, right? Because we saw the first time it was MCSR against Ashley. He knew what to do, right? The 5-6. He switched it up a little bit. He used 7, he used 8, he used a little bit something different. Right? He tried to offset it. I wonder if that was something to look forward to. Maybe I'm not saying experiment, but he's something to do maybe in the first time he plays. For Tago, big win. He needed a confidence boost, especially after what happened to him against Yoshi, where he just needed to get the monkey off his back. I think he lost 6-5, too,
He
the
did the
first time he played.
6-5, yeah.
It was the opposite. But big win for Tago. Happy for him. But I'm interested in Cap for sure, G. You got to think he's still one of the most lethal guys on a low tide start. If not the most lethal, for sure.
I mean, yeah, I mean, you look at the low card starts. I mean, we could like only one low card start. Tago won, but Tago was able to just kind of counter with the higher card starts and was able to survive through that way. So able to just get it done there, and I mean, it's one of 15 card start in the minute 49, which is really quick. Jesus. Yeah, Tago with a big win there makes it to the final. I mean, redeems himself from May, and I mean this late season push from Tago in general has been really good because he's had Final Four, regional final, and then made it to the finale here. So we're gonna cover the finale next. We might quickly dip into the third place game, although I really don't think there's much to talk about. But
Okay.
I mean, the finale setup here was interesting because these two actually played in the last tournament in the second round of 32. So kind of interesting how that got set up. But yeah, so we've seen both those players play each other. Tago won in July for the two. We'll see how the finale went here. But besides that, yeah, if you want to cover the third place game quickly, that's fine. But otherwise, we'll head to the finale.
Well, the only thing that was important, if Cap won this third place game, he would have clinched the rookie class overall out right now. I want to make a big asterisk on this, G. Superior won it, but the system we have for the overall is not good. Basically, the overall championship for a class was if you had the most class wins, you're the last man standing. And Superior had 2 of those. He had 1 of those, but had tiebreaker because of the average finish. It was pretty confusing. I'm just going to say this right. We need to fix that. That will be fixed next year. The last man stand thing is fine, but for an overall class championship, it's got to be fixed. We're going to get into that. I don't have much. I was actually there for that game in terms of just reffing it because there was no VC. It just seemed like Cap didn't care. I'm gonna be honest. Cap kind of just did whatever. Allen didn't seem to care, and ultimately it came down to just Cap picked the low stuff. Allen ran the low stuff, got the cards, and that was it. So let's move on to finale. Congrats
Yeah.
to Tapir though. I mean, he went from D2. What a year! Three tournament wins, right, in both divisions. A class championship, which, like I said, it'll be reworked.
Yeah.
That was probably the hardest class
I
to
I will say,
figure out.
I was not involved with the whole process of making that. If I saw that whole thing, I would have, that would have been like immediately switched because it's very, very flawed. So that's gonna get fixed in the off season to be not. I, I'm just gonna be blunt, not stupid, because I don't think anyone knew what was going on with that. So that's gonna need to get fixed in the off season. But yeah, I mean, Tapir still won by the rules and is gonna be the 2024 rookie class champion. So congratulations to him.
Yeah, and we'll fix the class system too. The people will be rearranged. Obviously, that will be probably an off-season episode. Well, I was there for this finale, and it really wasn't much of a finale. Unfortunately, I think we talked about Allen, right, not having the experience. I think Brock, it wasn't the moment wasn't too big. I don't know. He tried. He tried that pump and dump, but it just seemed like he wasn't playing himself. He played a little bit more. I'm not going to say experiment. He played a little bit more tactical. Think, okay, I had all these opponents. Maybe we'll work on Tago. But the light switch does work with pump and dump. It's a good offset. Tago played it right. He wins the tournament. I think this is what Tago needed, G. I think the confidence was there. Deep down, I thought Brock had it. Coming in this game, I'm thinking, all right, this Cinderella. How many times we saw it? But William Brock truly was the Clay Wolf of last year in T5. We'll see if that gets him into Super League. But for Tago, automatically locked into Super League. What a season! Thoughts on both of these guys' season? I say for Tago, it came down to the second half was just better. T3 and 5 specifically, and then for Brock, really, if you think about it, you take out this tournament, he's nowhere close to. So this was really his tournament. He pulled the Clay Wolf for sure.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Brock pick ran out in the finale. I was so close to getting another huge pick at the end of the year, which would have been awesome. But obviously, that's not really what matters at the end of the day. Although maybe it will with the this whole fantasy thing. Ooh, spoilers. We'll maybe talk about that in the off season. But I mean, Tago
Oh, yeah.
just kind of ran course with that one. Again, this was kind of similar to what Brock did in the Final Four. But I mean, Tago, great performance, redeems himself from May and gets the victory. I mean, great stuff in general. And I mean, I think he felt really good after this win, even though it was kind of a blowout. Unfortunately, Brock goes down 0-2 against Tago on the season, but still an incredible run to the finale nonetheless. And I don't know, maybe it'll be enough to make Super League. We'll see what happens with that. But obviously, would have wanted the automatic berth. But again, just gonna have to see what happens with that. And yeah, overall, not the best finale per se, but I don't think it was a terrible finale. I think it was at least somewhat competitive to an extent, but obviously 6-2 is not really the best result. But Tago walks away with a win, and yeah, it was a good win for Tago because he wins Space September and gets that last auto berth. So yeah.
Yep. Space September. 5 for 5, G. 5 different tournament winners. Obviously, guaranteed we'll have a D2 champ, which we'll talk about in a second. Good season overall. Regular season had a lot of interesting storylines for sure. Probably the biggest thing in the regular season that overshadowed the competition was the new bot, right? This was the first tournament with the new bot. Sort of detuned, I guess you could say. We don't have the 4 commands. We didn't have the C. I think the biggest thing is we didn't have the CH on. That was probably the bigger thing. The 4 commands is whatever. That will be implemented, and who knows if that will be adjusted. But the card history now will come in for Super League and for the rest of the year. And then next year for D2, it's the full version. So yeah, let's go back to the old bot though, and let's figure out what happened in that D2 championship. G, long one to cover, so this gonna be a long one. Go for it.
Okay, so
I got the
we're gonna
challenge
jump.
open too if you
Yes,
need
we're
it.
gonna jump
Yes.
into it. I think the one thing I will cover here first quickly is I don't think we covered this in the last one with LCQB. So Pikachu ended up beating Rune 4-3 in that finale. Really, really great back and forth match. But Pikachu gets the victory there. So I believe throughout that one, they obviously went to 7, but looking back at that one, let me pull the logs up because I don't think we covered this one before, so I just want to make sure we have this set. That one was literally back and forth because it was Pikachu won the odd number games, Room won the even number games. Last game ended 9 minutes, and Pikachu was able to walk off with I believe a +4. So Pikachu makes it into D2 Championship as the 12th and final seed. Unfortunately for Rune, season ends there, but I mean that was a great run through the LCQ nonetheless because he started as a 10 seed and had to run through most of the brackets. So um, good stuff there. But I mean, both our LCQ winners had to play 4 matches to get into the big dance, if you want to call it that. But yeah, that sets our field for 12. Again, just a reminder for everyone. It was Jenna from LCQA, who's the 11th seed, and then Maisie Pikachu from LCQB, who ends up as a 12th seed. All right, so we're gonna jump into the actual matches here. We're gonna go through every single one. So we have 8, 10, 11, 12, 16, 20, 20, 22 matches. So this might take a bit, but that's why D2 finally gets its own topic on the year. But we're gonna start off with one that was kind of a banger here. Hockey versus White Spider, 8 versus 9 seed. Both of them have played each other. They played each other in April, and this one started off hot. Went to 7, but White Spider was the one who actually was able to get the victory here. Really good stuff in general, but I think the real thing to take away from this matchup was the card starts, because there was only 3 different card starts the entire game: 7, 8, and 15. And White Spider won all 3 games on 7, and Hockey won all 3 games on 8. And it's kind of funny when you consider also that 2 of the times, the other 2, the 2 later times that the card start was picked was by the opponent. So that ended up actually costing Hockey the match, because he picked 7 and lost on it again. The one time that 15 was picked, or the difference from 8-7, was game 4 where White Spider picked 15 and he won that. So in my opinion, that was the one that ended up winning him that game. So he moves on to winners quarters. For Hockey, he drops down to losers. So with the D2 Championship double elimination bracket, we'll probably talk about that once we get through the matches. I thought it was pretty good in general, but we'll get over that once we get through these matches. But yeah, jumping to the next one here. Camaro versus Basic Pikachu. I mean, unfortunately for Pikachu, I think his momentum kind of ran out a bit here. Camaro was able to just kind of run through it. I mean, the first 2 games were won within 3 minutes. So not really much to say there, but Pikachu was able to fight back a bit, but ended up 4-2. Camaro moves on. Pikachu goes into losers early, but he made it past the LCQ into the championship now, so he does still have a chance with the double elimination. But yeah, not much to say there. Then we go to Steven versus Taslim. Oh my God. This one was. I'm gonna have KT come in on this one in a second, but this one was one of the longest D2 games of the season. In a game where we were limited on time, we somehow found like an additional 50 minutes.
Supposedly. Yeah, supposedly.
Yeah, somehow we found an additional 50 minutes, and this game lasted an entire hour and 34 minutes. So this was a very long one, but Steven gets the win 4-2, goes up 2-0 on the whole series, because they played each other in April also. I mean, KT, I mean, I obviously didn't watch a ton of these D2 matches, but like, any thoughts on this one with the endurance? Because this was the only time the entire bracket we saw something like this. But
This is this is one of the only matches I think I watched live, because I had to schedule a Taslim match. So Steph's got this endurance style, but it's not so much Steph. Taslim plays it's a very hybrid style of Dark, in a way, in Chamic. It's weird, but I don't know. I think Steph just had a little more experience because of the data. I'm still puzzled how they found an extra 50 minutes. The card starts were very high. I think you noted it. It was just very high, even though they had limited time. Confusing series. It was like one of the only games I was there for the whole time, actually, because I had to be. Because I just wanted to make sure that game would get through. But yeah, congrats to Steph. He just found a way, I think, ultimately to get Taslim riled on ammo. Because Steph has this style where he'll play the ammo, but then he knows when to save it in the back end, and it's working. It worked for sure. A little table talk as well. That's been his mantra the whole season, maybe his whole career at this rate. So interested.
yeah,
Good, congratulations to Steph. He moves on.
I mean, we're going to see the table talk later. That's kind of been a theme with D2, and I mean, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But we're going to go to our first big upset here. This was number 6 seeded Gone against number 11 seeded Jenna, who was the LCQ-A winner. I mean, Jenna was a fire hot throughout this entire match. It split the first 2 games, but then ran 3 straight to get the win. I mean, she was keeping her momentum for the LCQ, and it pulls a big upset on Gone, who a lot of people were thinking had a good shot to possibly win the whole thing. Gone gets sent into losers very quickly. And Jenna keeps the run going from the LCQ. I mean, this was a fantastic performance from Jenna in general. And she makes it to winners quarters. The really the big upset from the winners round 1, because technically White Spider Hockey was an upset, but that was also 8-9, so it's kind of like whatever. But Yeah, so Jenna with a big win. We'll jump into winners quarters here before we go into the losers. I'm gonna start. I'm actually gonna start with Nightwalker Camaro here. We'll get to background White Spider at the end of this round, um, and probably actually another one as well. But for Nightwalker Camaro, this was a really great back and forth match. Knight went up 3-1. He was the acoustic August winner. Camaro had the fight back and then found a way somehow on the higher card starts. Um, Actually, wait, no, it was 3-2. My bad. But Camaro ends up finding a way to get the victory. And I think this is after a misplay in Game 6 that he recovered from. But Camaro somehow found a way to win. Nightwalker goes into losers in the 4-5 matchup, and then Camaro goes into winners semis. It was a great showing from both sides, but Camaro was able to get the edge here despite a few mistakes. That's technically the first confirmed spot into D1 for next season. The top 8 get promoted, and that confirms top 8. So, I mean, KT, if you want to give a quick thought on Camaro here, I don't know if you watched this game specifically, but just thoughts in general on Camaro.
Well, he's an interesting character, very interesting guy. I think he'll fit right in as a pro player. But Knight, you hate to see it for Knight a little bit in the sense that he had to lose this game because he seemed to have control, but Camaro's got this one thing about him that I've noticed is he finds a way to play the cards very well in terms of the starting cards. He'll go 5, he'll go 6, and then he can go like he plays it a lot like Ghost, his fellow California native. I'm interested to see how Camaro will handle the pressure moving forward. For Knight, we'll see what he did. Losers, right? He moved to the losers bracket, so we'll see how he goes on that for sure.
Yeah, all right. Jumping to the next one here, and we have a Goldie versus Steven. And I mean, I don't think a lot of people saw this one coming. Steven won 4-1, just straight up ran away with it. I think there was some misfortune on the cards throughout this one. But in general, Steven was able to just kind of keep the momentum rolling. I mean, he won a 17-minute game 4, so kind of was just able to take control of that one. But Goldie won game 1, but then Steven won 4 straight. I know Goldie's did have a few distractions going on, so I'm wondering if that maybe played into effect. But Steven was able to just kind of keep it going, and I mean, this was it was a pretty impressive performance because I think most people were expecting the top 4 seeds to straight up just make it into the winter semis. But that's already 2 of the top 4, and that was the 2 tournament winners who got auto berths, who dropped into losers round 1 right away. So that was kind of surprising, but. Steven moves on, gets the D1 promotion spot by going to winter semis. But again, thoughts on how Steven did in this one, and thoughts on like Goldie with the whole with the kind of distractions going on, and how do you think it may have affected her as she goes into losers?
Well, I mean, a lot of those distractions are more private reasons. We're not going to really mention that on the air, but it is unfortunate in the sense that goalie couldn't have that full max level. But Steph, man, let me tell you, that style he has, it's very peculiar. It's very distinct, and sometimes it works on players that play a little patient. And Goldie sometimes has good patience versus aggression balance. Stefan knows how to play the aggression, but will do patience when he has to. Other guys will be patient in their game when he has to, and I think that made the difference here. That style is very lethal, especially in a championship mode. If you know how to time it right in a double elimination. Because let's face it, G, that style, when you can play aggressive, knowing that you have a second chance, it's actually more inclined to do. Hey, you know what? If you lose, you lose. Then you just do it again the second time. It's something to note because that is a style that not a lot of people have, especially in a double elimination format. I'm interested to see as this league develops too what will happen next year. Someone develops that. Anyway, let's move on to the next one. We'll see Goldie playing Jenna, if I'm not mistaken, in the losers.
Well, yeah, that kind of. I don't think that was what the case. No, that was not the losers round 1 matchup. But
Oh,
speaking
my
of
fault.
which, Alex Jenna was the other winners scores matchup. I mean, this one was back and forth. I mean, Alex had a huge scare, and this one was down 3-2 at one point, but was able to find the cards in game 6 and 7 to escape with this one. Unfortunate for Jenna because Jenna had absurd momentum going into this, and she was really showing it. She was playing balls against the wall, had a 26 card comeback in game 2 and a 21-minute game. So played really well, but Alex was able to find a way to escape. He gets that T1 promo spot, but I know you've seen Alex play a bit throughout the season. You have talked to him
Yeah.
a bit. Any thoughts on Alex in specific, especially with this one where he kind of barely escaped?
Well, he had to get it done, right? Had to get it done. His goal and his vision was get to D1. Job was finished in terms of that aspect, and now he can just play a little more freely. That's how I saw it. We'll see what Jenna does. I think Jenna's got another player that's very patient. A little bit of Brad, definitely a lot of Brad in her, and knows how to play that patient game and time the ammo. I'm interested to see what she'll do now in the losers and see what Alex will do as he moves over to the was it the semifinals, I believe,
Winter
of the
semis.
winners. Yep,
Yeah.
winners. There you go.
All right, so before we jump into losers, I'm just gonna bunch these two quick because this was a really annoying situation that happened.
No,
So, background White Spider and then background Camaro both ended in in a no-show DQ because both overslept. So, it's by
ugh.
virtue of being the regular season champion, background made it to winners finals through two no-shows, which was really ridiculous. I mean, we're really just gonna talk about the I guess the timeliness etiquette here because I mean White Spider had a good chance to win that game, but then he just no shows for a game he oversleeps. It's not really the best responsibility in general. I was hoping these players would be a little bit more etiquette into the times because they agreed to the time that was set, and I mean these weren't like crazy times either because um, 12 p.m. Noon EST or EDT for the background White Spider game, and then 1 p.m. EDT, which would have been 11 a.m. or what wait
10
10 a.m. 10 a.m.
PST.
PDT or PST for Camaro, and both of them ended no shows. I mean, this was a very frustrating situation because these were the only two DQs in the entire bracket, and unfortunately for both, they had to happen to involve backgrounds. So he technically made it to winners finals without playing a single game, which is really frustrating. But I mean, KT, if you want to make a quick comment on the I guess just scheduling in general, because I mean, as we just talked about this before, this was not a good situation that happened. This was a had to have a discussion with both players about this whole situation.
No, it isn't good. And there's a fix next year coming. I guess we can kind of say it because we've already released it. It's called the strike system. We'll basically just say if you start doing these antics, we're just going to start giving strikes. It's unacceptable. This is it's not just the D2 thing, right? This has been going on since the start of this league was basically adopted and born, and we're just getting tired of it, right? It's not respectful to the guys that put effort into this league in terms of players and especially the staff because you were supposed to string. The background game, unfortunately, the first one with White, I was at an event, but the second one I came in was Kamara. I mean, that's just unacceptable. You show up, you were awake, and then you went back to bed. He's got to be better. I know he will, but it's a harsh reminder, G, that you gotta be. Unfortunately, I think there's another match we'll talk about. Someone else was showing up later. That was gone. But it's just it's got to be better. I know it will be better next year, especially since a lot of these guys are background for sure. We'll be moving up to D1. Camaro, obviously, we already said will move up, but it's got to be better, and it makes a better impression when you show up on time, and it makes your etiquette and responsibility values more robust than just bailing for sure. And we'll move on. Well, that's all enough for that. That's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, so for the first time ever in Amarillo history, let's jump into the losers bracket here. We'll start at the top here. Jenna versus Hockey. So again, Jenna lost in winners quarters, and then Hockey lost in winners round one. Unfortunately for Hockey, I don't think he really learned from his errors from the winners bracket. He kind of got thrashed here. 4-1, kind of just ran the same card starts for the most part. And Jenna kind of just walked away with this one. I mean, even though she lost in winners quarters, she still kept that momentum going, and kind of walked into the next round, losers round two, and she gets the promotion spot because that is top eight. So she goes from the sixth seed in the LCQ bracket A, wins four straight, wins winners round one, and then wins this first losers match, and she is now going to D1. So incredible turnaround for Jenna. Any thoughts on Jenna here? And I think this is kind of what the LCQ, I guess the LCQ format is all about, where it gives two people a chance who may not have been able to prove enough in the regular season, but do have the skills to be able to make it far. Because I think both the LCQ winners were very deserving. I don't think either of them fluked their way into this bracket. I think both very much earned their spots. But Jenna's going to actually get a promotion spot here after not being in the at-large field. So any thoughts on Jenna specifically? Because I think she had a great and hard working run to get to this point and goes to D1 next year.
Looking forward to having her in the program. Right, we'll see how she'll perform. You look at her style. Like I said, it's very Brad-esque. Got some Brad in her. in terms of just knows how to play the patient game. Scheduling will be interesting. I think she'll just get along well, just figures out the program. I got high hopes. I'm not going to say, right off the bat, we're going to start seeing rookie levels right away. You got to give these guys time, but I think Jenna could be someone to watch. That style, especially in those early rounds, those round 1-2 games, you play that kind of style. Brad plays, sometimes Caesar does. Those are lethal styles to get you out of round 1-2. I think it's when you get to the Sweet 16 onwards, you got to start developing that. I think I'm cautiously optimistic for sure. As for hockey, missed opportunity for sure. G. This is he had talked about so many times trying to get to D1. Missed opportunity, right? You had a chance, especially with the white game, and then just to kind of falter like this. A lot of table talk. I think he'll clean it up, but I'm gonna say right now he'll probably be a favorite. I think he could be a top 4 favorite. He could be in line for a top 4 seed in D2 next year. I think he'll be one of the favorites, but unfortunately he won't be the guy to move up to D1 in 2025.
Yeah. Jumping to the next one here, and this was a really interesting one because this was the 2 seed Goldie who got upset into loses early against the LCQB winner, Amazing Pikachu. And I mean, this was looking bad early on because Pikachu was up 3-1, 1 game away. But I mean, through some way, shape, or form, Goldie somehow. And I think Goldie was on the subway also while this game was happening, which
Oh
was
boy.
a questionable choice. But Goldie somehow found a way to come back with Pikachu had the power play, was able to burn it, and then found a way to come back, win it 4-3, and survives, makes it into D1 with the win. And unfortunately for Pikachu, is not able to capitalize a lot off the LCQ and doesn't get the promotion spot, but he's still a great run nonetheless. Definitely put up a fight, and unfortunately just came up a little short. But any thoughts on Goldie here with the comeback, and then thoughts on Pikachu, what he may be able to do for next season, because he absolutely showed a lot during these playoffs.
Resiliency, that's really the number one thing I have to say with Goldie. To come down 3-1, your season's on the line, G. At this rate, right, it's win or go home. To come down from 3-1 on a subway, that's pretty fantastic. I think Goldie plays a little bit interesting, if I had to say. With her, it has patience, but also takes one game at a time. That's very similar in a sense to Nam. Nam has this just one game at a time, see what happens. I think Goldie would be in the same boat as Jenna. I think she can get out of round 1-2. When you play that style, you just got to figure out a way to get past the S16. But I have high hopes again. Like I said, cautiously optimistic. Could make a run. Yeah, I don't know much about Pikachu. I mean, I know him a little bit in mitts, but he plays this chaotic, quick, probably the fastest style I've ever seen. Now he has the cards in front of him with the pictures. That's not going to happen next year. I wonder if that slows him down, maybe just a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit. So I wonder if he actually gets hurt by what's coming. I'm interested though to see Goldie and Jen. They're optimistic. I'm optimistic they could throw something up for sure moving forward. And they got a lot to look forward to. And we'll move into the next match for sure.
I might say the contrary on the card thing because I think the main reason he does the card thing is because those automatically organize it by color. Um,
Okay.
but with the new bot, it gets organized by color, then the Wild get their own section. So I actually think he'll be okay on that. But that's for probably an off-season discussion. But jumping to the next one, Nightwalker versus Taslim. This one was kind of unfortunate. Taslim was able to just kind of run through. Nightwalker won this 4-1. The ending was a little weird because I think Taslim tried to do some weird thing with the ending. Like she kind of made a mess up on the ending. Nightwalker could have power played, but at that point he kind of just gave up, and Taslim was just kind of able to finish it. So Taslim moves on. Nightwalker, unfortunately, as the Acoustic August winner, kind of clutched his spot into the field. Does not make it into D1 next season at the moment for after winning the Acoustic August, which is truly unfortunate. He's the only top 4 seed that did not get the promotion spot, but I mean, with being a top 4 seed, he technically is first in line in case we have a retirement in the off season. So if that happens, Nightwalker does make it into the field, so we could see that happening. But just an unfortunate end there. If you want to talk about Taslim quickly, let me know. I know that she's not one you're like as familiar with in terms of full gameplay per se. I know we talked about her a little bit during the winners round 1 matchup, but any thoughts on what Taslim could bring to the table for D1? Because I mean, she's an interesting player because mainly because she kind of plays in a specific time range. where she usually does like 8 a.m. to like noon. That's usually she's the only time she really is really able to play. But at least she's very consistent with it, so at least that's a good thing. But any thoughts on Taslim in general? Any thoughts for Nightwalker in specific? Because I know you talked with Nightwalker a little bit leading up to the D2 championship and also a little bit after the loss.
Yeah, Knight's going to have two people. Remember, G, there's a situation with the whole Tapir thing and Arya coming back. We need two people to go to get him up here. But I don't know. I think if he does come back, I have to look at him as the presumable favorite to win D2 next year. If he gets promoted, then we'll see. Off retire, it's hard to know. As for Taslim, like I said, a Duran style, it's a little dark, like a hybrid dark. That's an interesting style, with the automatic power play coming. That's going to help her. I know she misses sometimes the power play, but you do that next year, it doesn't matter. It's automatic. I think that's going to help her. I still think with the timing situation, the guys in D1 are fine. They usually they're cracked down. We can find a way. That's really a logistics thing. I don't know. I don't really have much to read. I'm not going to say it just has to figure out something to get to round 16 and then needs that extra level. I think for her, I really won't be able to judge until I see her on the table round 1. Her style is a little bit different. It's a lot more, like I said, drawn out, but then also at times can be just there for the taking, right? I think we'll need mistakes. Almost has to go to turn back the clock a little bit, in a sense. Almost has to play a little bit of who does that very well, capitalize on mistakes. The top player, almost in a way, G, almost like you, because you did that a lot last year, where you capitalized on mistakes and was able to run it, but you didn't have the hybrids, long style, but has a little bit of you, but definitely a little bit of Dart for sure. I'm interested to see how that plays into it. I think we'll see what she can do round 1 come March, because I don't have a good read on it right now until I see her play fully confident. But we'll see what happens with Knight too. You never know. He could find his way depending on what happens in the offseason. We'll see.
Yeah, definitely. The last one we're going to go over here is White Spider Gone. I mean, I'm going to be honest, this one was kind of just, even though it ended 4-2, I think Gone was just kind of taking control for most of this. But again, we had a situation where Gone showed up late. I mean, he said it sort of ahead of time, but it was very vague with it. And we had to wait like nearly an hour, which was not great. But game did eventually get going underway, and Gone was able to get the win. But uh, yeah, I don't know. I have much to say. I think again, Gon was expected to do well, and he started off his losers run well here with a 4-2 win, but obviously the whole situation with showing up a bit late was not great. He apologized after the fact because he knew it was
Yes.
bad, but um, we already discussed about this with White Spider Camaro with the whole time issue, but I mean, any thoughts on this one? I mean, this also had this had a Gone in the first 3 games he won in a combined 2 minutes. So not necessarily a great series, but Gone gets the win. I mean, the last game was pretty good, but besides that, there was not much to say. But any thoughts on Gone specifically for T1 next year, because that is the last promotion spot that is guaranteed.
Gon is probably the only one I would say. He's a player. If the game is fair, usually it goes both ways. He's in it in the past. I'm gonna call. I don't mind losing. He said that too. The thing with him, I'm interested is I feel like Goldie and Jenna, in a sense, are in a pod, right? They have their own style. Taslim is the unknown. Obviously, you have Camaro. Camaro's Camaro. I think he's just a unique character. Background and Alex are in a way, or in an interesting. I almost have to say, Gon is similar to Steph in a sense that he plays a little bit more of that aggression when need to, right? But then can pour it on and then be patient when he wants to. I'm interested to see what he can do. I think he will be one of the few guys, I will say, that has a style that actually could work for longer games, which is interesting. The thing is, I think he might be the opposite. I think he needs to figure out what to do in round 1 too. I think if he gets to around 3 or 4, he could find some magic there. Believe it or not, because he does do stuff in his own league. I guess his own league. I'm not sure if it's his league or not. It's called UUT, which is his own. So he told me a little bit about that. So I'm interested to see if he actually can develop a round 1-2 style. Because then if he can do that, then I think he actually could be a threat. But I'm interested until we see him on the table of March Madness. I don't have much to read. The only people I know for a good read are at least for round 1-2 are Alex for sure, background, Cam, and I would say the Jenna and the Goldie. The rest, we'll see how it goes. We'll see how round 1 come the season next year. I'm not going to reveal the calendar. I almost slipped that. One. Won't do that.
Yeah, the season next year starts and then it gets cut off. The whole episode just gets cut off. The recording ends.
Yeah,
Thanks for watching.
yeah. Copyright there. Copyright strike.
This video has been taken down by Emery Uno.
Yeah. Self-copy. Anyway, keep it going. You're good.
Okay, all right. Let's go jump into losers round 2 here because this is the winners of losers round 1. We're gonna start with Jenna Goldie. Unfortunately, Jenna's momentum died here, which was unfortunate. But Goldie was able to keep the losers run going. Yeah, I mean, because this was a similar thing that happened in the what's it called? I think the Goldie game actually in winners where Jenna won game 1 and then Goldie just kind of ran through her and ran the next 4, won the next 4. So unfortunate ends for Jenna, but she did get the promotion spot, so not all is lost. Goldie keeps the losers run going, and I mean, as the 2 seed, I mean, she's definitely looking to be a big threat here throughout this losers run. I mean, this is kind of the thing where we were looking for because we're looking with this format, you have the opportunity to make a big losers run. I mean, Goldie definitely was a contender to possibly make that. So we'll see what she ended up doing. I mean, any quick thoughts on this one? Although I don't really know if there's much to say. Jenna just kind of ran out of it, just kind of ran out of momentum.
Yeah, no, actually, believe it or not, this was the one game that I believe I actually saw on replay. It was one of the few games I saw on replay because I don't know. I think maybe Caesar was here. I'm not sure. Somebody was here, but they told me a little about this game. But it just seemed like you said, Goldie found a way to get rhythm, and sometimes when you win a big game, the way Goldie did over Pikachu, that momentum carried, and you just found a way. Sometimes you get a little bit of that going. Good win for Goldie. Jenna, I think, did her job right, got the D1, and we'll see her next year. But overall, successful season, especially since you weren't even supposed to be here in this spot, considering you're an LCQ player. To get that far in round 2's loser is pretty impressive, for sure.
I mean, listen, that's what the format's about. It gives you a chance, and Jenna took full advantage of it, even though she ends up with a 8th place finish technically based off the tiebreakers, or if you want to call it 7th, whatever, 8th, 7th, whatever you want to call it. But still in the top 8, still gets a promotion spot next year. But Goldie moves on in terms of the D2 championship. Going to the other losers round 2
This
matchup.
was a shocker.
This was a huge upset in terms of what ended up happening because let me pull this match log up because I need to make sure I have this right. So Gon got up to a very quick lead 3-1 with the power play, I believe, and this was, in my opinion, an incredible last 3 games from Tissaline because we've talked about all year how what Tissaline's huge weakness is with the power play, and she first off finds a way to have Gon burn it. So that goes away now, but she still has her, but she hasn't ever power played in the entire season. But then in game 6, she incorrectly power plays, so that would be the first time she incorrectly do it, so it didn't count. Managed to find a way to get the win there, and then game 7 she teased using it, like she was like, maybe I'm gonna use it here. She teased it, and then won the game without ever using it. So like insane like mix up with that because she teased using it and then never used it, and she still won the game, which was absolutely insane. Came back from 3-1, sends Gon out of the tournament and loses round 2. Big upset. A lot of people were thinking Gon was going to have a huge run, but he's out at 7th. So, I mean, a huge performance from Taslim. This is the stuff we've kind of been seeing from her when she kind of makes these like incredible plays. And I mean, there was 2 moments in the game where Gon had a fatal switch. So that's gonna make him feel bad about that. But I mean, talking to me through this game, this was a big upset. Even though 10-6 is not that big of a gap, this was a big upset. I don't think a lot of people saw this one coming.
Unfortunately, this was the last game I saw before I had some stuff come up. And I remember vividly coming home from a flag football game. I was watching this in my phone on the way back, but then I lost service. But I picked it up in game 6 and 7, and all I kept seeing were these crazy. You're right, crazy games I missed. Missed opportunities were gone. He did a power play, I think, at a +2 to try to stop a win, and Taslim was playing footsie with the power play. It was bizarre. But I think the biggest thing Gon's going to have to learn, G, and this is the thing, right? He can't get too comfortable. I mean, 3-1 in a regular series. If this is best of 9 or best of 11, you probably could actually get comfortable a little bit, right? Maybe take game 6 as a feeler. Or game 5, right? Feel it out. You lose, whatever. You got time. You don't got time in a best of 7. I think the urgency had to be a little bit more there for Taslim. Big win. That's sometimes what you gotta do, right? Play those mind games, have a little psychological warfare, even if it's unique. And congratulations to Tasley moves on. God, he did the mission, but I think there's a lot more to be desired after that game. He knows it leaves a bitter taste. I think he could pop off next year, especially in T1 come 2025 in March.
All right, let's quickly jump up to the other two winners matchups since we did cover the whole incident with the first winner semi. We're going to go to the second one here. Steven versus Alex. Alex was looking to walk in with this to cruise to a finale, but did not go his way here because he had control for a lot of this match. But whether it was some way or another, Steven at the last second always found a way to switch the tide to get the win. I mean, this was prevalent for the first the games because game one was 28 minutes. Alex was in the lead for like I think 26 minutes of it, but a +2 like right at the end, and then a quick switch, and then eventually I think this ended on a fatal switch here, which gave Steven the game one win. It was kind of crazy because Steven was playing behind for most of this. In most of the series in general, Steven was playing behind, and then the same thing happened in game two. Not as long, but like again, Alex went back to 15 cards, and then Steven was behind, and then found a way to switch it right at the end. So I don't even say I want to open up this specific game real quickly just to make sure I have the right info on this because I mean this was kind of crazy how this all played out. Because again, Steven was behind for a majority of the games in this one, um, and still again somehow found a way, whether it was through a fortunate draw or a +2 that they were holding on to, or even just a wild switch or something like that. It was just somehow found a way to keep the game going, and then eventually turn the tides to get the victory here. I'm looking through this game one here. This 28 minutes, so it's going to take me a second to go through. I'm
All right.
just trying to make sure I have this right, but yeah, I mean, it was crazy. And then game one had a deck reshuffle also, so you could tell how long that one ran. But yeah, I mean, it was kind of crazy how this one went. But I mean, in general, uh, yeah, because another thing also because technically, um, okay, it was not a fatal. It was a fatal. It was the wrong number placed down, and I think game two was a fatal switch. So again, Steven was able to find a way. Alex got two games in 4 and 5, but at that point it was kind of over. Steven was able to get the victory here. I mean, this was a crazy performance from Steven. I don't think it was the cleanest performance, but he somehow found a way. He somehow found the found a way to get the job done. I mean, this was kind of crazy, but any general thoughts on this one? Because I mean, Steven was behind for a lot of this match, but again, at the last second, switched things up and was able to get the game wins he needed and wins it 4-2. So, any thoughts on this?
Well, the thing with you, remember I told you that was the incident.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I really couldn't really. I did see there was the grand finale. I had to see that one because I want to shout out. I'll get to that in a minute. But I didn't see this game live. Unfortunately, I had stuff come up. But I will say I did review tape before we came on here. It seemed like ammo heavy. Ammo one way, ammo the other, ammo one way. Too many firing shots the way I saw it. It just seemed like a lot of firing shots both ways. It worked itself out in the end, but like I said, G, Stefan at this point is still looking good, right? He's in the winners bracket at this point. That style works knowing you got a second chance, and now he moves on to the winners finale, right? I believe the winners final,
Yeah.
and then Alex now he's going to have to figure it out in the losers quarter, if I'm not
Yes.
mistaken. So now
Losers quarters.
now he's going to have to readapt his style, and we'll see how he does because once you lose that first, once you get that, Tapir always said, you always get that first bullet. Once you get that first bullet, usually you're finished. But in this case, you get that first bullet, you're not bleeding out. You still got a little bit of life, and that's where Alex has to figure it out there in that losers quarter. For Steph, I mean, he's defying the odds. The 7th seed defying the odds, especially after whatever the summer was. It's looking really good for him. So we'll see how it turns out. Let's move on to the next game.
Yeah, we're gonna just jump to the winners finals here, and then go through the rest of the losers bracket here. Background versus Steven in winners finals, and unfortunately
This wasn't much, I heard.
This one kind of
Yeah.
ran away very quickly. Background was able to just kind of get a lead and just kind of run with it. Yeah, I mean, we won the first three games pretty quickly, and then Steven was able to get game four, looked to bring a bit of a fight. But background pretty much shut it down really quickly and just kind of steamrolled Steven here. 5-1 victory. Wasn't very close. Steven drops down to losers finals here in background with one game match played, goes in the grand finals. A bit of a weird run again, but able to find a way to just get it done. With the some of it was fortunate with the cards, some of it was just getting good switches. But I don't really have much to say on this one. Background was able to just kind of take care of business, and he goes in the grands, and we're gonna have to run through the rest of the losers bracket, see who he faces there. But yeah, for Steven, the momentum kind of died here a bit, but we'll see what happens in losers finals because he's still alive in this bracket and still has a shot.
Yeah, no comment on that game, G. Just you said, you pretty much summed it up. There wasn't much to add. We'll go right along there. I got some comments for the other games that I was studying, but nothing much on that.
All right, jumping into loser scores, we're going to start with Goldie Camaro here again. Camaro had a no-show in winners. He was here for this one though. This was 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time game, and this was a close one. Goldie went up 3-1 pretty quickly, but Camaro found a way to get back into it. Made it 3-3. Went to game seven. Very very close game, but Goldie able to outlast Camaro. And this was an interesting one because Camaro was doing this thing where he was playing mind games with the draw. So he would draw while it was not his turn, try to trick the opponent, think he doesn't have anything, and then goes with something. In game seven, he had the win. He tried the draw thing, but Goldie played very quickly. So Goldie's action came out first, and then Camaro actually drew, and that actually cost him both the game, the series, and his season. So kind of crazy how stuff like that can happen. Goldie is able to escape and makes it to loser semis after being knocked into losers in the first round. So, like, kind of insane how this one ended. But any thoughts on this one? I think that was what you were going to cover specifically. But what an
Yeah,
unfortunate way for Camaro to have his season end.
he had it. The crazy part is Short showed me. Not Short. Somebody might have been Short told me about this game, and I think Camaro. Looking back, I saw his hand thing. I'm like, man, he used to power play. Mind blowing mistake, and I think that's the thing Camaro has to look into his game. Like I said, I think round 1, 2, that style will work because we see like, he plays a little bit similar to Ghost with the card starts. It's gonna work. Now you did this a lot last year. I remember vividly in Super League, you were doing some of those fake plays. Let me tell you something about those fake plays. That could work next year because remember the bot is a whole different animal. This new bot, it's a whole different animal on when to play it with the fake play. That could actually work, but it would just look very weird. You gotta time it right. I think Camaro got too cute. I think he got too cute with the game, and he lost. The goalie has been on this Cinderella type run, finding ways to win. Probably should have lost it right here, but gets away. And sometimes, G, it's better to have 9 lives than 8 because that's really what Goldie has had. 9 lives this run, and sometimes you need that little lady luck for sure. But congratulations to the goalie for Camaro. Did the job. No one even. I know for a fact, even though I know he's supposed to be in D1 at the beginning of the year due to some circumstances with scheduling. I'm happy for his homecoming in 2025, but I'm also cautiously optimistic. If he plays that style and just figures out how not to be cute all the time, he could do something special. But we got to see. It's going to take a little bit before I can get a read on it. But let's see how Alex does now. Now he goes into this game with the first bullet.
Yes, jumping into the other losers quarters match here, Alex versus Slim, and this was an interesting one because this is a matchup that didn't happen all season, but this is kind of a clash of styles here. Slim got the first two games here. Again, Alex ran 15 for the first two games and lost both of them again. So I think at that point he realized he needed to do a quick adjustment, like an adjustment real quick because he was already down 2-0. Found a way to get game three. I remember him specifically saying that game win was huge for him because he wanted to shift the momentum, and I mean, shift the momentum he did. He won the next three games and won 4-2. Alex moves on, takes care of business. I mean, Taslim ends the run there, but it's still an impressive run. I think Taslim was definitely one of the more bigger unknowns going into this one as the 10 seed in the last at large. Ends up with a sixth place, or I guess top five. Again, it depends on how you view it. On the actual record, it'll be sixth place, but you could also say there's two fifth places. But ends the run at losers quarters. I mean, really good run, all things considered. I do think Taslim, when it comes to the cards, has shown to be a very good player. But any thoughts on Taslim's run in general, what she might be able to do next year, and then thoughts on Alex and getting the win here?
Well, as I said off the top in the last one, with Taslim getting promoted, I think we just have to find a little bit something in terms of just game one, round one in March. I won't really know until I see that. Alex had to get done. Not really much to say. I think Alex is. I think he had a little bit more of an edge. I think just the experience, right? He's more centered approach. He takes a more centered approach, lays back a little bit, plays a little bit Yepes, and then was able to just run the colors efficiently. I think the colors will be key for Alex moving forward in this next match he's going to play. For Taslim, until I see your game one, I won't know. But I'm thinking if he can develop a little bit more of a linear efficiency on the colors and a little bit more of just ammo control. Because remember, if you try to do those fake, if you save Uno power play next year, right, it'll register. So you got to be careful with that. I think that's just growing pains to learn, and we'll be just fine. But I'm interested to see now because this was a very, I guess you say rivalry. I don't know if this is a rivalry, but I know Alex says it is. But let's get to it.
I don't know. Only one match happened, so I don't know, but we'll see. Maybe it really becomes one next year, but who knows? But let's jump into the loser semis finals here, which is Goldie versus
Well,
Alex.
no,
So
that's what I meant. Gee, this one, not Taslim Goldie.
oh, okay. Well,
Yeah, this
the way
one.
you phrased that was a little weird. I mean, there's
My
definitely a bit
fault.
of more of an argument here because they played each other twice. So loser
Yes.
semis. This is a rematch of the June Gelato Final Four.
Yes.
2 versus 3 seats in the loser semifinals also. So kind of crazy how this one went out. The top four of the entire bracket, three of them were in the top four seeds. So kind of worked out how the regular season did show a lot. Alex was able to get revenge here 4-2. Got the win here, made the overall series 1-1. Um, I mean, for this one, it was pretty close at first, but this game ran very quickly. Only 23 minutes long, and Goldie went up 2-1, but then Alex won the last 3 games. Kind of just took control for the most part and ran away with it with a 2-3-2 minute victory. But Alex moves on. I thought this was a good match, although a little bit short. I don't know if I have a ton to say on this. Alex was kind of able to do what he needed to do. Had some fortune on the cards, but able to just kind of get the plays he needed to get the victory. Any thoughts on this? Goldie ends up fourth. I mean, this was the losers run, all things considered, for this. I mean, won 3 matches in losers. Unfortunately, ends here. Doesn't get the full losers run here, but still a good run on the list because she did lose in winners quarters against Steven, but also unfortunately does not get the rematch against Steven in losers finals. But any thoughts on Goldie's run through losers and kind of just kind of in a way shows kind of the ability to come back in this format with the double elimination as opposed to what we usually run with single elimination.
Well, the double elimination has an opportunity, right? We talk about double elimination. You lose that first bowl, you don't bleed out. You got a second chance. I think Goldie, like I said, optimistic, needs to find a little bit something in that S16 if she can get there. I think the first 2 rounds do suit up nice. Those styles do work, history would say. Now, we do have a new bot, but history would say you play a clean game in the first 2 rounds, you don't make mistakes, usually you win. But for Alex, he's got to relock in, right? This is a little bit different, right? You had it the first time you played in your next match here against Stefan. You pretty much had that game locked in. Then, boom, just like that, ammo control went off the deep end, and Stefan allowed you to get into that mindset. Okay, I'm gonna try to get mistakes on you, and it worked. Let's see if he learns because this is really his key test. Could he learn against Stefan, where they just played? I believe. I guess in real time that would have been about a week ago. I think something like that. I'm trying to think here. Yeah, about his winter semis was about a week ago. So let's see how you learn in a week.
Yeah. So this was a rematch of winter semis. Alex versus Steven, and this played out the exact same way as winter semis. Um,
Yeah,
Steven won 5-3. Again, he was kind of playing from behind, but able to get things, get what he needed. Alex did go up 2-1 at one point, but Steven stormed back with a 3 straight wins, which made it ironically 4-2. And then the other 2 games added. Alex won game 7 and Steven won game 8. So 5-3 ending. Again, this was literally a repeat of winter semis, except best of 9, instead of best of 7. I don't have a ton to say on this, although Alex's season ends on 3rd place. There was a bit of some questionable comments after the game, but we're not going to dive into that. But let me
no,
thoughts on
we're not.
Alex's season overall, and for Steven being able to get the win here, to go back to grand finals and get a second crack at background.
Yeah, I'm more impressed with Stefan here, man, or Steven, excuse me. I'm really impressed because this is a guy that really should have been in D1 at the beginning of the year, but unfortunately scheduling just didn't work, similar to Camaro, and he's already got his homecoming. Now he's on house money. Right now, in a sense, he already had the first bull. He's got to go out there and win, but this aggression style, now you can almost double down. You're playing background character here who you just got your butt beat, but now you have nothing to lose. And like I said, I was here for those 2 games somewhat because I was making cards with Zach. And let me tell you, on that Saturday, that first best of 9 was some of the most. It was probably the best Uno we've seen all year in D2. Fantastic. The finish was
Yeah.
insane, but I want you to cover it more because this is your home.
I mean, this
Sure.
was grand finals. This was technically the final match of the season, and the way this format works, if Steven would have to
Final
win
match of the
two.
old bot too. Final
Yeah,
match of the old
final match of
bot.
the old bat as well. Steven would have to win 2 best of 9s to win the whole thing because of double elimination. So if Steven won the first match, we would go right into another best of 9. So Steven had to work a lot to get the job done here, and I mean this did not start off great for him because Background got a very quick game 1 victory in a single minute. So he started down, but Steven was able to even the score 1-1. And from there, it was a really great back and forth here. I mean, Steven definitely learned a lot from that winter semis match. I was able to bring the fight here, but at one point but I couldn't really find a lead per se. It was although it was able to get up 4-3 here, but Background was able to quickly even things up 4-4, and he did have to use a power play in Game 7, so he entered Game 9. This was 4-4. Season on the line for Steven. A championship point for Background here. Steven did not have the power play. Background did. We started on 7 cards. This was very tight back and forth. I mean, I'm just gonna tell you this right now. There were so many instances where the game was inches away from ending in this one. Steven was walking a very thin tightrope, and Background was just centimeters away from getting the victory here. There was 2 instances where Background was going to call power play to end the game, but Steven was at Uno, so he couldn't. So in a way blocked
Oh
it,
man.
couldn't get the finish there, and then it came down to I think one of the most insane moments we have seen this entire season, where Steven gets the Uno on a switch, and Background has a 50-50 option here to either win the entire championship or go into the second match. He goes for the safer option. He feels the safer, an immediate switch back into the blue, which was the color they switched on, and then Steven held a blue to get the win. Genuinely one of the most unbelievable things we've seen. One of the craziest moments of the season in both divisions. No one could believe what they saw, and then we had to go into the reset, which was pretty insane. But quick comments on this first match. I mean, would you argue this first match was a top 3 match of the entire year? Maybe, well, definitely in D2, but maybe even both divisions.
Well, definitely in terms of Division Two tops, D1. There's been some great matches. Yeah, obviously, you look at the KT Ashley non-Sapir coming to my mind. We even had a great game like Seth and H. But in terms of just the stakes, right? Because we really haven't had a championship scenario other than the March where we crown the champion. It's been a while. Yeah, for D2 for sure, it's 100% the number 1 game I saw all year. Now I will say though, G, I knew right there, and I was watching the game on Zach's computer, which is crazy because we were making cards. I have my own computer. I wasn't at his house, right? We were just doing a screen share, we making the cards, and we had basically said, you know what, Zach, I got a feeling the game's over. What do you mean, Kay? To lose like that for Background, that is a hard way to lose, and you don't have. Now you would think, okay, you played 15. You guys played right after, 15 minutes after.
Mhm.
Then you can shake it. That's a hard way to lose. I think if Background maybe would have had about 2 days to think on it, right? A day, okay, maybe I can come back to a fresh mindset, but timing is not working out. I just knew right there and then it was over. I just had a feeling the momentum would have carried for Stefan, even if the cards were equal, even though they weren't, from what I understand, that second game, there was not much to talk about.
Yeah,
I just had a feeling. I just had a feeling, even if the cards weren't equal, I just feel like Stefan, the way he won that game, he took control, and or Steven, he just found a way that no one saw coming. It's the element of surprise. He got the job, and I told Zach, I think we're just going to put him on this yellow 6. I got a good feeling. And sure enough, and you'll talk about the last game. There really wasn't much to talk about because it was all Steven all day, pretty much.
yeah. Unfortunately, this reset was not as good as first match ended 5-1. So technically, overall, through the D2 championship, their series ended with 21 games, a 11-10 record in Steven's favor, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, this was unfortunately card central. Background got absolutely nothing throughout this one. I mean, the momentum was just dead after a loss like that. I think if background lost like 5-0 in the first match, I think he would have been fine because you could just shake that off. But to lose that way was really hard, and I think the mentality was kind of out of it. And I mean, with the cards he was getting, if the mentality's not there, it's just not going to happen. So Steven wins 5-1, and from losing 5-1 in winners finals, winning two to getting the win in losers finals, and then getting 2 wins in grand finals. Steven, as the 7th seed, manages to win the D2 championship. Congratulations to him. He is the 2024 D2 world champion, and he goes into Super League. So he'll be technically the D2 rep for Super League, but in a way we have two D2 players in Super League, so that's kind of funny how that worked out. But any thoughts on Steven throughout this entire run, and thoughts on background as he looks to recuperate for next season as he goes into D1?
Well, first off, I wish background the best, man, because you look at his run; it was very flawed, and he even said it himself. It's unfortunate a lot of the stuff that happened with his run with people's lack of responsibility. I hope that gets cleaned up. I think it will. And another thing too, G. We've already discussed this, and Caesar and I have already discussed this. If something like this happens again, Caesar and I are willing to wait the whole day sometimes, right? So that's the nice thing. Not everyone's got that luxury. I'm sure background will appreciate that. For staff, though, Stephen, excuse me, really appreciate his run, man, because a lot of people, right? There's no way. I think him and Camaro, right? There's no way those guys can get that far, right? I had a feeling though they would get far into the sense they would make D1. I had a gut feeling because they were top 8 seeds, but to think they would even make to get into this far and to win the whole thing in Curtis Stevens' case, it's fantastic. I think the style really he really exuberated is something I'm looking into if we ever switched over to a double elimination format. Of course, we don't do that in D1 as of now. I don't know if we ever will. We'll think about it, but it was a good format overall. I think unfortunately we had some just irresponsibility kind of overshadowed a little bit, but I'm interested to see if this format comes back. We don't know. We think it will, but we don't know. I'm interested though. If we ever do double elimination, I'm going to study what he did. Excuse me, burp there. I'm going to study what he did because there's something to be said about when you have 2 chances at the apple, 2 bites at the cherry, and you can just say, hey, you know what? First bite, it happens, and I can go double down that. It's something to really know. I'm studying it if we ever get to that format, but if not, then it is what it is. Because single elimination is just different. You know your life's on the line, but for double, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit more aggressive. So happy for Steven. Glad to see him up in Super League. Let's see what he does. He represents Canada too, which is always nice to get our friends from the north involved.
Yeah, I mean, another thing also with the international fair D2 we do have a winner that technically is international, even though it's just north of the border. But that's going to be another non-American into Super League. But before we jump into Super League itself, just want to wrap this up here. So this was it for the D2 season. Thoughts on the format in general? I mean, both the LCQ and the double elimination format for the championship. In my opinion, I actually thought it worked really well. Obviously, we had the 2 no-show issues, which kind of derailed some of it. But I think in terms of the actual format, it worked out wonderfully. Any thoughts on it?
Yeah, the 2 no shows, the Gon incident, and I don't even know what happened with Ruin Sky. That was a weird one. But those were really the only incidents I saw. I think the LCQ is interesting, right? It's there for a purpose. I think it's going to be tweaked though because we had a lot of people for it. I think there's a certain limit, right? You need for that, or maybe you say, we got a full field. Do we just say scrap it and just run T5? I don't know. There's a lot of discussions with that. For the double elimination, I think it works. I think next year, if we bring it back, I don't really see much of a change. We'll see. Maybe there's a change in the sense that we don't need to rush things, right? Maybe, hopefully, we don't got to be in this crazy cracked out pace, right? And that's the only thing I would hope. Maybe that would help things ease the burden of scheduling conflicts and guys having to show up the next day and play. But other than really that, I don't got much to say. Gee, I thought it went pretty well. You guys did what you could. I mean, shout out Yoshi as well. I know he was a big proponent of trying to get these games in, scheduling games. Shout out to Short, of course, and the whole team. You guys did a good job. I want to thank Zach with the cards. We obviously were there in the finale game, and we were there presenting the cards. Unfortunately, I couldn't I would have loved to have been there. Jimmy, if I hadn't had the stuff go on, I would have been there. That was the plan. The plan originally was I was supposed to stream the losers finale and the winners finale as a warm up, but it just wasn't going to happen. The way the schedulings were, it wasn't going to work. But hopefully next year I can at least, assuming everything goes well, I can try to get those 2 games in on my docket for the schedule. But overall, you guys did a great job, and I look forward to seeing it. But that's my thoughts. I think the formats we can take a look into it, but I think the championship format was good overall, and I'm curious to see if we can. Like I said, I couldn't stand double elimination. I still never will, probably in my heart for a regular season. But for a playoff format, maybe a mini run, right? Maybe a mini run down the road or something we can simulate. I have the tools, I have the data. If it's worth it, we can look into it. Maybe for I think I've always said Final Four or something as a mini
Yeah.
run. We'll see. There's some value to it, especially what we saw Steven did for sure. But anything you got to add? Or are we good to go?
I thought in terms of the format, I think it ran really well. Obviously, I think there's going to be some tweaks to the LCQ to maybe not have as many people on it. Again, that was a bit of a oversight because it didn't really have any data behind that. But I think in general, the in terms of the format really was great. Um, and I'm pleased how it turned out. I think the 2 people we got from the LCQ were absolutely deserving people to make D2 championship. Again, they were 2 people. They were 2 people who actually debuted in tournament 3, so didn't actually have as much of a platform to be able to do much on the season, but was able to play their way into the field, which I think was great. I think obviously we have the at-larges and whatnot, which are morely for people who do well in the regular season. But I think giving the opportunity to those who meet a certain threshold to play their way into the field to prove to the rest of the field, to prove everyone else that they deserve to be in the field, I think is a really great system. So. In terms of the LCQ, I think this system's going to be the same in terms of the actual idea, but I think in terms of the cutoff, it's going to definitely get increased. So there's not as many people. I think we had 23 people in the LCQ, which is a bit too much. I think looking more towards 12 or 8 would be better for next season. But yeah, overall, just really, really good format with good format, or I guess good execution on how everything went. And then for double elimination, I think we saw a lot of great things. We saw Goldie with the losers run, Steven able to get redemption against Background in grand finals and win 15 game grand finals, which is kind of insane. But I think in general, overall, a lot of it worked well, and it was a really good atmosphere for a lot of players. And I think a lot of people do enjoy it, but I don't want to speak on behalf of everyone. But we'll have like a whole survey to see how that was. But I think a lot of people did like the double elimination format, so hopefully that'll get retained for next season.
Yep, we'll see how it goes. We have a lease survey plan, a lot of good stuff coming. Let's hope those guys come back. We'll see how testing goes. Almost done with that, and we go into the main course now. G Super League preview. It's time. It's wild Super League field. I gotta say, man. There's a lot of great stories, but let's run it off the top. Where do you want to start? You want to start number 1? What do you want to do? What kind do you think?
Yeah, let's start with number 1. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Number 1, the number 1 player in the league. Well, none other than the world champion Ashley, and finally gets a trophy next to her name. Now, remember last year we did have a world champ, a regular season champ. They were supposed to get a trophy on the entry, but that regular season champion was vacated due to the incident. Now we got our first real regular season champion, G, clean cut, well deserved. I mean, you have half your wins on the year are quad 1 and 2 for sure. The way Ashley plays this game, like I said, has a very, very particular style where it only works for her, right? And if you try to mimic it, it's very hard to work. It's one of the rarest styles in the game, truly is. I guess you could say it is the 4-leaf clover. I can't see any world where you can't say. Last year I had some speculation on who the fit. I still think Ashley's got to be in one of the top 3 favorites. I think coming into this, her season was fantastic. Double finale, top 5 in T5. Didn't even show up for T4. Didn't need it really. Could you imagine she would have played then? Who knows? But congratulations to Ashley. Gets the job done and now becomes a trophy finally next to her name. I don't really have much to say. I think she's just business-like. At the end of the day, there's a couple players just business as usual. Let's go. Had a great season. That's what I got. Is that how you sum it up? Because that's really how I sum it up.
I mean, that's how I saw it, yeah, because I mean, she didn't play in Jungle July, she had a bit of a slip up in May, but besides that, 3 regional finals is nothing to scoff at, and really just did a great job all around. So, was very impressed with Ashley this season. Definitely shows she's a great player. We'll see how she does in Super League, but she has one of those double buys there, so she is going to wait a bit before she ends up playing.
Yeah, we'll move on to the next player. And then next player is Cap. Well, Cap is interesting, right, G? A good season for sure. Had the tournament win. Kind of fell off a little bit in the summer, but you know what? He rallied back in T5. He has one of the more lethal styles in the game. 5-6-5 it's possible. It's not guaranteed. It's possible if he can get past, because he'll be in double on the quarterfinals, where we can run the CSR for the regular best of nines. But then once we get to those 11s, I believe it gets really spicy. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Cap can do. I still have optimism that he has a little bit of a home table advantage in the sense that, hey, look, we're in Europe technically, in Greece, and he's from Latvia, so that's another country. Yeah, we have Canada, we got the U.S., now we got Latvia. See how many more we could go. It's going to be one of those more diverse fields in terms of countries and orientations. I'm optimistic for Cap. I think he's going to turn the Jets up when we get to Super League. I got Cap going to make a statement here, I think, as well. I won't say where I put him. I got him making a statement off the get-go when we get to quarters. What do you think, G?
Yeah, I mean,
Good season, too.
this is a good season for Captain. He got the win in April, and then I think he really just capitalized on the space September in the end to make sure he's in that top four, because he was fifth coming into this tournament, so not in that double bye range, but has a really good run, makes it to the final four. And I mean, I think he got a lot of good wins on the season. He plays one of the most unique styles in the league, so curious to see how that all play out, and anticipating to see what he does in Super League. I mean, he is a favorite based off how hard his style is to play against.
Next guy up would be myself, G. Oh boy. Well, look, it's good to be back. It's great to be back. Right, I'm glad I got a little lady luck in the sense that the people I beat in March were very damn consistent. It's really what carried me up here. But look, at the end of the day, I got to get back to my usual groove. Right, there's going to come a certain point where if everything clears and I'm going to be in the clear, I got to make sure my head's clear. I know it's going to be clear by the time we get there. I got to step it up. I know I've been hearing, right. I've been hearing from the media. I've been hearing from people like Peter Onjak 2.0, right. You hear those things, and the only difference is Peter Onjak had a group stage. I don't. I get to relax a little bit. We're on a new bot, right? In the sense that we actually had the full version, because the last tournament was not the full version. Now we had the full version. There's no more excuses. I got to go out there and win. I'm the first player, I would say, maybe to an extent, but I'm really the true first player that got. If it's not a Final Four at minimum, it's not a good season, right? Yeah, even though I had the March Trophy, I know in my head this is a golden opportunity because we saw the struggle last year's Super Leaguers. I know I'm one of the few returnees. I got to make it happen. I know where I stand. That's all I got. I'm not going to say too much. That's where I got myself at. What do you think, G? I know it's been March and Boston Peter, but never know.
Okay. My headphones did like a weird thing. If you just want to repeat that like last part, because it does this sometimes, but it kind of messes up with the audio a bit. I have it fixed now, but if you want to just repeat that last part, go ahead.
No, my last part, G, was just your thoughts on me. That was it.
Okay. Um, yeah, I think it's known. I've been one of your bigger critics in general, which I think, I think it's fine because I mean we're good buddies and whatnot. So I'm just gonna I try to hold you to a higher standard in terms of gameplay. Um, not a, haven't won hasn't won a series since May, I believe. Unless let me double check that. I
We
could
don't
be
count the
wrong with that.
DQ. Yeah, we don't
Yeah,
count
I
that
mean,
one.
like DQ is not going to count, unfortunately. So yeah, I mean, since May, haven't had hasn't had a win since May, but that was the 4-0 against Allen. Um, it's been a while, and in the last 3 tournaments, we're round of 32 exits. The momentum, especially with everything that's going on, we're not going to dive into that, but the momentum is not on your side here, really. And we've talked about how momentum could play a key factor in how this goes. And you're going to be going up against someone who could be running in with the momentum. So it's just any thoughts on what you feel you need to do to be able to get the victory here? Because I mean, in my opinion, I do think you got seated a bit higher, but that's where we end up at the end of the day, and you're going to be going in against the 6-11 technically whenever that gets
Right.
determined. So any thoughts on that in general, and what you feel you need to do to be able to not only just get that first match win, but also just go on to win the whole thing?
gonna be tough. It's not gonna be easy. These guys have a lot of evolution on this new bot, right? They've all been able to play at least the detuned version. The only thing I'll have with me that I will say I have, the one thing is experience. I do have the EXP from last year. Right, I did learn my lesson in a sense, even though it was a completely different format on the best of 9 where I messed up with gold. But yeah, there's no, I'm not going to beat around the bush. Yeah, this last couple weeks, the last couple months been a little rough. Yeah, but you know what? The same thing was said about Peter, and he showed up in Super League the best he could last year and almost did it. Almost got to a Final Four. It came out of the last cards really in the last game. You won at least in week state in the group stage. I know what I gotta do. I know where I stand. I think it just comes down to, like I said, if I can find the rhythm, right, get back to where I was in March and turn up to that 100% level, which I know I can do, I'll be fine. But we'll see what happens, right? Normally, I would say, okay, I know who I'm playing. You don't know. You think you're playing the 6th seed, but you never know. Gee, this field's very competitive. Someone can turn up, and that specific 6th seed has one guy out there that he doesn't like, right? So there's a chance, right, where maybe I play the 11th. You just don't know. It's the one thing you say you're. It's 1 and 2 you don't know. One and 2 is you don't know who you're playing because it could be the 7 mystery, it could be Adams. You don't know, but there is a 6 seed out there. It's already been determined. And same with the 4-5 line, which is more likely. You'd think the 3-6 is interesting though. So I'm interested. I'm on the cusp. I guess I was in. I guess I would be the Alex, right? Because Alex was the 3 seed entering his D2 chip. So
Yeah.
I'm in that gray area, right? So we'll see how it goes. I know I don't have the momentum right now, but we'll see how it goes in a month. I think if I can get clear of everything I need to get clear of, I'll be all right. But we'll see. Like I said, anything can happen in this league, and you can't take it for granted. At least I have the CH. I got some things, but so does everybody else. It's the same for everyone. We'll go for it.
All
Now,
right.
this guy, a lot of people thought he could have been higher. A lot of people thought he could have been 2 or 3. Some had him at 1. Tago. Tago, the
Me.
thing with him was it?
Me. But
Yeah,
go
yeah,
on.
you did, yeah. But yeah, but Tago, the thing with him, man, with his season, I think it ultimately came down to James. No fault of his own. Just 9 quad 3 and 4 wins out of 13. That was probably the only thing that was lacking, right? If you look at the rest of the people above, they all had 50% or more on quad 1 or 2. It wasn't enough. He was, I think, lower than 33% on quad 1 2. But not to take away from Tago's season. I think if the light switch could work, but he's got an interesting opponent because it's possible. Like I said, the 4-5 is more likely to happen because you think, okay, it's more of a common occurrence, but the 3-6 you could see an 11 upset. I'm interested. This 4-5 could be special. I think Tago's going to have to be on high alert, but at the same time, I do think that light switch, if he can figure it out and it works, especially when we get to that card history section, he could be in for a possible run that no one saw coming from where he was last year. What do you think, G? He's got a lot of upside as well.
I just quickly realized something. I mean, we're talking about Super League here, so I was thinking maybe we should do a little bit of transition. So quickly let's quickly do that here. So whoop, there we go. Now we're into the Super League background. So we're back in Athens.
No,
We're
okay, no problem.
we're out of space, landed in Greece. So just did that quick switch there. But that's really only gonna be seen for the YouTube viewers. But yeah. For Tago, I mean, really clutched up in Space September, got that huge win. I mean, this back half of the season was phenomenal. I mean, that's 3 regional finals. That matches Ashley's total. The beginning of the season was not great, but was able to get a lot of good wins this back half of the season in general, and that's also why I had him, as personally, I had him in number 1. I will probably disclose some of my personal rankings of some of these players as we go through, because I think that helps with some discussion from my perspective, but um, yeah, I mean, Tago really, really great back half of the season. I mean, he got a lot of great wins in general. I mean, he got the Ashley win. I'll note that as much. But overall, very impressed with Tago, especially after the May, because a lot of people thought he would have a falling off after coming that close to the finale, but he absolutely didn't. He made it to the regional final and then ended up winning Space September. So Tago's got a lot of momentum going, and I think he's going to be someone you have to watch out for to possibly win the whole thing.
Tago will have a lot, but G, I'm going to say right now, this is. I think you know what I can relate to Brad because Brad really got shafted by the quad resume. He was looking really good. He was the undisputed number 1, and ironically, he took the exact same fall off as Peter from last year. He was the number 1 player entering T4 into T5 or from T4 to T5, and he fell off the 5th. And that's the exact same kind of thing happened. the thing with Brad is I feel like me and him are in the same boat, right? A lot to prove. There's been a lot of critics of Brad, unfortunately, where he fell off a little bit, right? Is March Brad appearing, but then he can fall off in April. Brad, there's too many sides of the coin, Brad. I think he puts that to bed. I really like where Brad's at. That patient style, right? He does. He knows when to play the ammo, knows when to time it right, knows how to spice it up. I like it a lot. I really think Brad will be someone to watch. G. I know you've been. I would say out of the top two, you. I think you probably been my biggest critic. So would Brad. Brad. I think me and Brad are almost the same guy. Right. We have not much momentum, we think, but we do have one thing: is we have a lot to prove, and we're hungry. So I think Brad's going to be hungry. And like I said, the 4-5 usually happens more than a potential 3-6 because of the fact that the 11 could come in there. 12 is usually the worst guy in groups. I think assuming Brad gets there, Tago versus him was going to be insane if we get there. What's your thoughts on that? That's going to be a good matchup if it happens, but I'm thinking it will, barring something stupid.
I mean, yeah, definitely. And I mean, Brad doesn't have a lot of months coming in because he had an early exit in September, but still a good season all around. I mean, again, got that May win, got the May win
May win.
and got that auto bid. So really good stuff, all things considered. But again, not really coming in with a lot of momentum. He's going to have to figure something out in this stretch where he's not playing to try to get things back locked in. And he's only going to have a single bye, so he's going to be in that first round with no power play. So gonna have to figure it out from there. But for Brad, really good season. We'll see what he does in Super League, but that is the difference between 4 and 5 because he is gonna have to play in that first round. There only gets a single bye.
And he'll be on the road if we do have that 4-5. Now, this last guy, G, it's very interesting. Tapir's had a unicorn season. I think with his season, despite losing the ball, I'm not worried about it. He's on a house money. So he's not even supposed to be here in this league. He wasn't supposed to be at the start of the year. The only reason why he wasn't up higher is because he wasn't here in March, and that his platform was whoop whoop whoop. It was up once, down. It was a roller coaster. If he just had a little more consistency, he could have easily cleared Brad, myself, and Tygo, and he had played March. He probably would have got a couple wins, but that's not his fault. I still think Sapir's someone to watch out. There is one guy that we'll talk about that he's already said publicly is just it isn't the best style. But that's if they get out of groups. So I think unless Tapir gets that one guy, I really think he's in a good spot right here. That's my thoughts. Your thoughts, G?
I think if we accounted for D2, he would have probably been number 2 on my list, but obviously with this we don't, so he drops to number 6. It's funny also because I think he would have been the D2 champion had he stayed in D2 also, so he technically would have been Super League no matter what, but yeah, really good season, all things considered, although the up and downs have me a little bit concerned because we are coming off a down for September, so maybe the Super League comes with an up. But that is a little concerning because he's very polarizing results. Because sometimes he does really, really well, and then sometimes he just kind of bails out in the first round. So a little bit of inconsistency there that has me concerned. But if we're going off the trend here, started with an up, went down, went back up, went down. So we're technically going into an up going into Super League. So that gives you a little bit more optimistic. But again, with the position he's in, he has single bye, and he's going to be up against someone who makes it out of the group. So gonna have to see what he ends up doing there, but not the best spot for him in general. But we'll see what happens.
G, now we go into the group stage. This will be our Group A leader. A lot of people thought it would be this guy, but it ain't this guy. It's JT Jesse Turner. I'm really happy for JT, first off. He was shafted so many times on that 11, 12 tease line, 10 every single time in a reveal show. He would get teased, and it was just unfortunate, but very high on JT. No power play, G. Best of 6. The fact of the matter is that's JT at his finest. There's 2 guys specifically that I'm really hyped for to see in the group stage that are making their debut. Well, two for sure, and one really with some vengeance. This is the one guy I'm really hyped for. JT is one of the best with no power play. We saw it against Brad where he messed it up. And if we had a regular season where there was no power plays, JT would have been the top 4. But because power play existed, I think it shafts his game a little bit. The first round will not have it if he gets out of groups as well. No power play. I like where JT is at. Group leader. I got nothing but positive things to say until we even get the double ones. We start getting into the quarterfinals and the double bye and come back. Then there might be something. But for right now, these first 2 set up nice. JT's in heaven. I'm buying JT all day, baby. Give me JT. What do you think?
I think he's a easy favorite to win Group A. I mean, the way the format works is absolutely perfect for him because he's not very good with power play. So without it and just being able to run the cards, that's really going to play to his favor. And I think the way this group actually lines up is pretty favorable for
Even
him.
better.
We'll talk about that a little bit, but I really would not be surprised if he doesn't get at least 7 points in this. Really good group for him, and really good season return. A big comeback here because he didn't make Super League last year after a complete fall off in the back half of the year, but really is able to turn up the Jets here. Gets to the 7th seed and really impressive. So I'm optimistic for Turner here. This has been a good year for him, and I think he could continue it further in the groups.
Gee, I noticed another guy very polarizing. I know we've already talked about KT, Brad. This is another guy you've been wishy-washy on all year. Some valid, some interesting things from Nam. A lot of people thought Nam would be the top guy in Group A, but he went to Group B because of just resume. I said he wouldn't do good in T5, but he would cook in Super League. I think he will. This is the perfect setup for him, and here's why. Because a lot of his group, which we'll talk about, in my opinion, is fresh blood, right? He's a young gun as well. I almost think if he was in Group A, it would have been a different story. I think he gets what he wants. And you look at the competition for him, I like that young gun approach. I really think he's going to go into this game competitive, juiced up, flowing that we've never seen him before. I'm not going to say he's the favorite because there is one guy that's really, really good with this format. I got a feeling it's going to cook, which is going to be ironic to the next guy. But I think he's going to be in. He's going to move in the bracket stage. Yeah, I think he's going to be top 3. I don't see how he does it. He's had a great year, and I think turning 15 now, which is not much of a difference, an extra year, life experience is always good. I think he'll learn from it and move on. What do you think? I know you've been one of his biggest critics, though.
I'm not as optimistic for this as I was with Turner, but I do think the way this shapes out, he's in a better spot than the rest. But I am a bit concerned with the inconsistency because the stretch between April and May, I'm just going to be blunt, was bad. Um, and there was some controversies with the July run, but he still had the run to the finish line nonetheless. I don't know. We're gonna have to see what he brings to the table here because it could be it could be a bit of a mixed bag here, all things considered. But I don't know. In general, I think he could definitely make it out of the group, but there's some concerns going into it. But leads the group. I mean, in general, got the wins he needed, but I think some of the quality is a little bit concerning. But I think in general, puts himself in a decent spot to do well at least.
I think that'll be all right. And this next guy, they got to be the favorite, G, one of the favorite, if not the favorite. No power. Brock does not use. This man does not care about power play unless we absolutely have to. He rarely uses it. Best of 6. Probably the hottest guy coming in. I think this is the favorite for sure. If it's not Nam, it's Brock. If it's not Brock, it's Nam. These two guys, I think, are above they're punching above their weight. I got high hopes for Brock for sure. I got high hopes for Brock. I really think he could easily get maybe 8 or 7 points, shut her down, right? Because you got to think about it. If you're locked in a week 5, shut her down. I think Brock's going to be someone to get the job done here. I think he could make some noise too in the next round too, which would be the single bios comeback round 12. So I got Brock moving forward. In my opinion, I think he's going to be in a good, favorable group. And like I said, it's a lot of young gun group here, so it's 2 already.
I would
What do you
say
think, G?
I would say Brock's personally, in my opinion, the person who wins Group B. Again, because it kind of goes back to a similar thing with Turner, where this format really works for him. And I mean, he did come with a clutch performance to get into the field here. I am also a little bit concerned because we've seen the history of people who end up getting these big clutch performances in the final tournament who end up not being able to capitalize enough on Super League. So I am a little concerned about that. But I think if we're just looking at the group and how the format goes, I would say he's my personal favorite to win the group. But we'll have to see what happens. We never really know what's going to happen in these groups here because we saw last year. I think a lot of people picked Aria to win her group and she got last. So we'll have to see how it goes because you never really know what happens with the groups here.
Now this next person, G, I said at the reveal show, house money. There is nothing, and I mean nothing, where you could say this person, Lane Sanders, has anything to lose, right? In my opinion, this is the ultimate. I'm just here to do my job, and if I get it done, great. If not, right? That's how I view Lane Sanders. He hadn't even considered Super. If you would have told me he would have made Super League after getting torched by DJ Kurtz at the start of the year, no way, right? But now he's figured it out. Probably should have won, in my opinion, should have won T4. had not been for some controversy, right, with the whole Namgay, and then we all know what he could do with Tapir because he reverse swept him. You got to think this is the one thing that Tapir's going to be watching out, and I know I could be watching out because this is someone I could potentially play if it gets that way. You know what? When you have nothing to lose and nothing to gain, you find ways to make magic. I think Lane could sneak in. I think he's going to be a spoiler. I'm not going to say he's going to get locked in right away, but he could play spoiler. I think Lane's someone to watch. What do you think, G? That's how I view it.
I have some concerns going into this because he came off a very very bad loss in September, and I mean a lot of this is the spot is carrying from his July run, which he realistically should have made the finale, but I'm a little concerned going into this, and I think the way this format works, I'm not sure what the mentality is going to be because he's one of those players who can get in your head, but you could very easily get into his head also. So I don't know where the mentality is going to be going into this. He is on house money, but if he gets frustrated real quickly, then I think that might be curtains. But he's one of the ones I'm looking with a little bit more caution, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, Lane, you never know. Never know you're going to relay. Now, we don't have this next guy. We'll just briefly touch. It was Eli. Obviously, Eli, wish him the best, but gee, just got to think here. This is something we're not going to discuss because it's unknown. We don't know what's going on. The only good news I can report is if this was really bad, we wouldn't be seeing him at a speed cubing event, right? It must be something that we don't have an information or a read on yet. We're going to have to figure out when he gets back and discover what happened. We wish him the best, but that's all I'll say. Unless you have anything to add, I think we're just going to move on. That's how I view it.
It's just unfortunate because he really wanted to make Super League, and technically he did, but I mean, he's just been MIA for a month and a half. We have no information on what's going on, and at this point, we're running out of time. So, unfortunately, this spot gets kind of withdrawn. So, the 16th spot, this guy who's 16th, who would have been first person out, is actually going to make the field. So, we'll cover that in a bit. But yeah, we'll just move on to the next guy who also, in my opinion, had another clutch September to make it in.
Yeah, another Group A guy, and this is if you're keeping score at home, a lot of rookies and sophomores. Toaster guy is I think he's going to be Fitzwater if Fitzwater ever made Super League. That's how I view it. I think he's going to play that really, really cracked out game, right? He's already said in the reveal show, I could basically pull a Tony Stewart. I'm going to stick a old +4 on Tyler if I had to. Old Grandma Record Championship. I really think Toaster guy's going to bring a certain flair. Another player from foreign country, New Zealand, right? That's a possible venue we could be going down the line. I like Toaster guy here, G. I think he's in the same boat as Lane. Nothing to lose. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, I think he could play spoiler. It could be very well. It could be those two guys fighting for the third spot. I don't know. Assuming JT gets the job done. I like where Toaster guy's at. I know he had a tough loss to Allen, but we all know if Allen turns up, especially what he did in that 120, he was fresh. Anything can happen with him. But overall, good season. You gotta think he had that Final Four run where he lost to Bad Brad. I think there's some good things to be learned here from Toaster guy in an unusual situation as well. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Toaster kind of clutched out his run in September, got good wins, and makes it into the groups. I'm more optimistic with Toaster guy because again, he's another person who is a bit inconsistent, but he's coming off a high here. So again, that also could go into the idea where he goes into a low in Super League, but I don't know. I think when he turns it on, he's brought good energy to it. So I think the way this group works out, also he could be in a decent spot, but we'll have to see. This one's a bit of an unknown.
He really is. Not like I said, Fitzwater ever got there, I thought he would play that Fitzy energy. Now this next guy, G, I'm going to say this once again, another rookie sophomore. If you're keeping track at home, we have Nam a rookie, Brock a rookie, another sophomore here. The fastest in the West is an interesting character, Ghost. He had that really good Ashley win, but you haven't seen much of him. He really he had the Lamas loss, right, which is a good loss in terms of gameplay, but I don't know. I think he's going to be an interesting spot because this new bot's already taken away a big advantage, no sneak attack. And now he's going to play in a situation where it's a young gun group for mostly, because we already know the last guy is going to be our D2 champ. I don't know. I don't have a read on Ghost. This is one of the few. I don't know. I've never seen him in a best of 6. I've never seen him with no power play because he usually plays it well. I don't know about Ghost. He could sneak in as the third guy, or he could be out to lunch as the last guy. I don't know. He could win the whole thing, but I really think he's going to be one of those guys that's on the bubble to get into that top 12. What do you think, G? You
I
think
would
he's going to be
agree.
around that third line, cutoff line?
I
Yeah.
I kind of agree with that. Because actually, I don't know. We'll see. But I think he's going to be a weird bit of an unknown. He goes with a really quick style here, so it kind of does work out with him with his best of six. But it's also like he's not really coming off a great run per se in September, so not a ton of momentum on his side. Again, he got into the field. He was technically 13, but he ends up as 12 seed with the Eli withdrawal. So I don't know. Ghost is a weird one. I don't have a big read on Ghost and what he'll do, but we'll see what happens. We know his style. We know he could bring it, but in this environment, it's a bit of an unknown here. So again, we'll have to see. And I think for some people, it's a bit of an unknown, especially with the next person.
Well, this guy I can definitely relate to, G. 3-round, 32 exits, right? Tough slump. More critics around this one. This is young boss Chami. I can relate to this guy, right? You hear the critics, you hear how do you get out? How do you shut him up? You go out there and win week one, or at least get a point and tie. I think week one's going to set the tone for Chami. It's that simple. If he can go out there in week one, and we'll talk about his opponent, he can set the tone right there. He's back in the game. If he can't, then you start to wonder where will it be. I still think he'll be on the cut line. I think he'll be in a dogfight with him and Ghost and the other person we'll mention at the end, the D2 champ staff, because he's already confirmed there. It's going to be a dogfight with those three. I think they're going to be close in all areas of gameplay. Chami plays split ammo. He pretty much said he took the Allen game lightly, and that's a rookie mistake. I think he learns from that. I know he's been slumping, but I have faith he'll find a way and at least put himself in that bubble conversation. What do you think, G?
I was a little bit higher on Tronic per se. I didn't think he should have been down here, but he still makes the field. Came off a not great loss in September, so I'm not really having a lot of momentum on his side, but still in the field. I mean, we've seen what he's been able to do, so I'm curious to see how he brings it to this best of six, no power play format. But there's some concerns going into it. I don't think he's running with a lot of momentum, and he hasn't really been on a hot streak as of late. So we'll have to see what happens. Because I mean, he had a first round exit in space September, and then round of 32 in July, which was a 4-0. So not riding the best momentum here. Oh wait, no, it was around 32 exits both times, so my mistake. But yeah, I don't know, not riding the best momentum here. Didn't get a lot of great wins in those last two tournaments, but again, we'll see what happens. But yeah, going into the last spots here at this point.
Yeah, we go to the next spot, and this guy, like I saw about G. I already said myself, Sanford's the only other guy to run it back. He made two-time Super League player. You got to think for Sanford, it's got to be better. Last year's group stage was a disaster. He's already talked about the format's fine, but he needs to figure out a way. Though he's got the full-time teaching and all that, but I think he finds a way. I really do. I think he's going to learn. He's going to use the EXP. I think him and JT have got to be the two guys to look at. But I will say for Sanford, he lost the Toaster guy earlier in the year, right? He
And he
did
lost the
technically
Turner twice.
Turner twice, and he also lost the Lane, even though that didn't count in a third-place game. And then he's seen DJ in the community. This is a group that, unfortunately for him, he knows very well in terms of life and also gaming, the gameplay. I still think though the EXP is going to carry. You can never count on Charles Sanford, but I will say, I think myself and him, it's not a good season if we don't make a Final Four. It's that simple. We know what we got to do. We're the two most winningest players left. I think we're in the same boat in a sense. We got to get out there and make it happen. So I think Sanford's going to come in juiced. Now I won't spoil much, but it'll be a little bit later. But your thoughts on Sanford here as he sneaks in?
Here's the problem. The groups was disastrous last year, and this, in my opinion, this is a really bad draw for Sanford. And I'm gonna say something that might be controversial. I'm not sure if Sanford should have even made the field. Like, I had him first guy out, which technically would have put him in with the Eli disqualification
Right.
withdrawal, but I don't know if his season was good enough to make the field, especially where he technically would have been in as the last person. And I don't know if his season was that good enough to make it in my opinion. And I know you're high on Sanford, but this has not been the same Sanford we saw last year. There has been some heavy struggles, and there's a lot of distractions off the table. I don't have an optimistic outlook for Stanford here. I don't think this is going to be a great outcome, especially with how bad of a draw this is, because he's lost to 3 of the 4 people he's playing against in this season. It's one of them he lost to twice. So maybe you could get one to set the score straight, but like it's one thing if it's one, but like 3, that's not good. I am not very optimistic for Stanford going into this. And especially with how groups went last year, it's not looking good in my opinion.
It's interesting, G. It's going to be Sanford he'll be under the microscope. You wonder what him under the microscope, what his ice in the veins level will be. We'll see how it goes. And the last guy that got in right from the D1 field was DJ Curtis, and I'm going to say it right now. This is this year's Cody Lamas. I mean, Lamas pretty much had the same type of thing going on resume wise, and we saw what Lamas did. He was close. I mean, took us to the last game really against Varigo, almost finished the job and could have made Final Four. I don't have much to say about DJ. The one thing he's got that is he has a really good opportunity. He beat Lane. He has Lane down pat for whatever reason. He's got that Lane stuff down pat, and that's the big thing. I think if he can get 3 points off of Lane, then this thing gets really interesting. I think he's going to pull a Cody Lamas type thing. He'll be on the bubble. I'm going to say he'll go on the bubble. I don't know if he's going to be the top guy to win it, but he'll be on the bubble and try to sneak in. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think the real main reason Curtis was able to get in because he had so many head-to-heads on the bubble that he won, and that was barely enough to push him. And technically, would have been the first one out, but sneaks in barely. But Curtis is in a weird spot, not really coming off a lot of momentum. But this is like a area of people throughout the season where he has like a lot of experience in beating, so he might be set up pretty decently in this. But again, this is another person who barely snuck in. I mean, I think there's a lot of arguments you could say for Curtis to have not made it, but um, yeah, these last few have been an interesting group. I think we're gonna go over Steven here for this
Yes.
last one, but I mean that was the last one for the D1 to make it. There was definitely some people who didn't make the cut, which were a bit shocking, but we'll get to that after we just cover Steven real quick.
Well, Steven, here's the thing with it. I just talked about him with double elimination, that format. Now you play everybody once. And I almost think Steven's his best shot. Use those first 2 games as double elimination style, and then switch over to single elimination games 3 and 4. I think that's what he's going to have to do because that aggression style could work. Like I said, if we ever move to a double elimination, I think he'd be a little bit more favored. But this is the group he wants to be in, and here's why. It's all rookie and sophomores. I mean, there's no masters, right? Sanford's a master. Turner, Cart. Those guys are big egos, right? Big personalities, and they've already admitted, right? They're big personalities or egos. The guys here have a lot to prove. They're all proven. They have a lot to prove in a sense that they're rookies and sophomores. Steven got what he wants. I just don't know how he's going to perform. We're talking about a new bot, right? We're talking about guys he's never seen all year. This is the only time this is happening ever. I think he just enjoys the moment. Let's see. I'm not going to put a guessing game on him. I want to see what he does. He's the only D2 promoter that will be playing in D1. He gets his first taste. Welcome to the league. I just want to see how he does. I'm going to be taking more notes on him than anything just to get my notebook filled. But for streams, I don't have much to say, G. Unless you have something to add, I don't really have much of an outlook for him,
I
unfortunately. I
mean,
think he's just going to enjoy the moment.
this one's going to be interesting because I mean he definitely brings a different style than what most people in D1 expect. Because table talk's not very popular in D1, but he definitely likes to talk on the table, whether it be his thoughts or just how he feels in general. Which I mean sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. But I think for Steven, obviously gonna enjoy the moment. But I think the real motivator for him is to try to find a way to get to Tapir. He definitely wants that rematch because he's gone 0-2 so far in the season. He lost both Final Fours he made in D2 to Pierre. So I think in a way he's kind of looking to find him in this Super League and try to get one back on him. So I would look out for that in terms of motivation. But in terms of how he'll do in the groups, I'm not really sure. I think there was definitely some D2 people who, if they made it in as the D2 champ, I would have probably picked to make it out of the groups. Steven, I think, is one that's a little bit more on the gray line. I think he might be on the bubble, but it's going to be close. We'll have to see what he brings. This is a big unknown going into this.
Yeah, for sure. Well, for the thing is, even if it was background character with his scheduling conflicts, we wouldn't even know, right? So there's a lot of things with this year with the scheduling. It's going to be a little bit more quicker pace. The people that missed, though, you look at the 5 people that a lot of people. Obviously, the big ones probably got to be. Well, I get for some reason Caesar was a big one, but Caesar just
I
didn't
think
have.
Caesar was big with one person.
Yeah. Yepez was probably the biggest one that missed. Yoshi had an argument, but no. Monkey we knew wasn't going to do much. Caesar we had one person. Seth was kind of in the same boat as DJ. Abion, I think the Radin loss killed him. The rest, I think, were no. Bowtie, no, not enough of a quad 1-2. Is there anybody, G, that you think that missed that maybe got shafted, or do you think it just came? We also didn't know what was going to happen with Eli, and we just had to play a little guessing game. What do you think?
This is a tough one here because this bubble picture was so tight. I go back to the question on whether Sanford should have made it or not, and like in my list, technically everyone who made it in was in on my list, but I think looking back and thinking about it more, I think there were some spots I maybe could have moved around a bit, and I feel like maybe Yepez definitely could have made it in. I'm not really sure. If you had to ask me to rearrange it, because again, I don't think Sanford Yepez had great seasons per se. If you had to ask me, I actually think I would have
No.
bumped Seth Cole in. Um, I think he maybe got a little bit undervalued, but again, that's just my opinion. I think most of the rest of the commission was set on what they had, but we were deciding it based off what was the what we were researching throughout the entire season, the metrics we had. So technically, the 16 that are in were or I guess 15. The 15 that were in were technically in when I had to submit my list. But I think after closer examination with some of them, I think I actually would have put Seth in over Sanford. But again, it is what it is. I think Yepez, it was unfortunate because he got very close. He was very disappointed about it, and yeah, I kind of hate to see it because I was hoping he would make it in, but I just think I really think the fact he didn't win that Ashley game was what cost him. I think if he wins that Ashley game, he would have been like the
He's in.
12 or 11 seed. But yeah, unfortunately, that kind of just goes to again to sometimes with the win quality. If you don't have it, it's just going to be hard to make it in, especially if you're on the bubble like that. So yeah, I don't know. Again, if I had to, I guess redo this in a way, I probably would have swapped Seth and Sanford, but that would probably be it. But yeah, this was a really tough bubble decision, honestly, because this was a lot more people than last year.
Yeah, I had Yepez right around that 16 left. Something happened to Eli. I had Chomik, Sanford, and Seth on the trio. They were the trio, but you guys really convinced me. One in a sense, okay, some of the other guys, DJ's got all these head-to-heads, right? And he only had 3 quad 3 and 4. That's really good strength of schedule. And we put Toaster guy on that strength of schedule argument all year up there, right? So we had to continue to play the consistency game as best we could. That's why we went with DJ off of consistency. Yepez would have definitely, if looking back, then I agree. I could have just could have kept him. I would have kept him at 16. He probably would have get on off Eli. I could have maybe took a little bit more of a look on maybe Yoshi, but the problem for Yoshi is he didn't have tiebreaker over Abion, and I didn't have the tiebreaker over Seth, and it just got too
It's
convoluted,
it's weird
and that's
because I don't, correct me if I'm wrong. I think Yoshi was one of the few people who like had a unanimous position because I think almost everyone put him at 20. So
20 or 19. Yeah, it was just unfortunate. Look, I know this one guy was talking about Caesar. We all knew. Not gonna say who it is. But listen, Caesar himself didn't even have himself in the top 25, man. It's going to be a year for Caesar, and he's already told me, like, let's make a break. If he can't get it done next year, then when, right? And he knows it. He's going to be hungrier than ever. I think the only big name that kind of got shackled, I know no one, I was probably the only one, maybe a couple other were high on Lamas to get a tie. He snuck in at 25. The people that dropped out, Drip, unfortunately, had I'm not even sure, just a life came up. ALP, I still maintain if that bot never, or whatever the hell happened with the API never happens, we're good. He probably makes a run, but that API thing happened. Who knows? Maybe he's in Super League. Myth ran out of steam against Sanford. I just had a feeling that was a mismatch. But those are the only 3 guys that dropped out, and then the guys that moved in, like I said, the returners. The only 3 returners, right? Caesar Lamas, and then Brock. I mean, he was nowhere, and he made Super League. So that's all I got, Chief, for that. I think it was a good year overall in terms of we figure out the field. We're going to find ways to improve it as always. It's not a fixed system. It's always going to be evolving and trying to get better on criteria, and I'm sure we'll get this right one year to where it's just perfect. But like I said, hopefully next year too, we don't have guys disappearing. We don't have a schedule conflict or we're on time crunch. We hope to get things resolved, and I know we will. So now, Jimmy, move on to basically the week one. We're going to do week 1 too.
I'm gonna have to pull this up
We've
here
already
because I need to look at the
yeah,
schedule.
okay, yeah, it's in. You want me to pull it up for you?
No, I got it.
All right, yeah. So week 1, we're going to do week 1 too. And then we'll kind of just make some mock predictions. All right, so the first game, G, this is going to be a fantastic game, G, in my opinion. There's a lot to prove for both guys that's on the docket. It's going to be the Group B battle between Nam and Chomik. It's a rematch of March. You know, I really think Chomik has something to prove here, G. I really do. The problem is Nam knows Chomik very well. This is the perfect matchup. I set the schedule up for the record. I'm going to take full response. I really wanted to see this one week 1. I'm going to go down 4-2. I think he gets this one. I said in the reveal yesterday, we're kind of having a fun reveal. I think he gets up 4-0 and just shuts it down the last 2. I know game differential matters, but I think week 1, you don't think about that. You just try to get the first 4. I think Chomik will find a way in game 5 and 6 to figure it out, but I think Nam is going to take this one. I like where he's at. I like where his head's at. I say he's going to make a big Super League. Give me Nam in the first game at 9 a.m. on a Sunday. I like it.
I actually think this ends in a tie.
Tie, okay.
I don't know. I just think the way this matchup goes, this feels like a very back and forth that's not really going to get split. So I would say this one's a tie. I know Chomik's not coming with. Neither of these players are really coming with a ton of momentum, to be honest. But I think with the way both these play, I really think this is going to be hard to like determine a winner. I'm just going to say this one's into the tie. Starts with a competitive one to start things out. But again, I think your prediction with the 4. I don't know if someone's going to go 4-0 in this one. To be honest, so. I could maybe see there being a winner, but in my opinion, based off how this goes, I would say this ends in a tie to start things off.
That's a good prediction. I like it. Remember, ties do exist now. Best of 6. The next game, ironically, G, is going to be the same group. So Group B will finish on the same day. It's going to be Ghost Stefan. I don't know how to any game with Stefan. I don't know how to predict. I'm just going to have to unfortunately play the home side here. I think Ghost is just going to have a little bit in the tank, and this is what Ghost needs, a warm up game. Right, to see where he goes. I think Stefan will not just get swept or anything like that. I don't believe in that. But I think this is also going 4-2. I think this will actually be 3-1 Ghost early. Steph will get this to a 3-2. Ghost clutches up in game 6. I'm going to go Ghost. He'll get the job done, 4-2. He'll get those first 3 points to start off the round. What do you think?
I'm actually going to go for a shocker here. I'm going to say Steven finds a way to win 4-2. And I think this mainly comes down to the fact that I don't think Ghost has really been seen this kind of table talk sort of thing, and I think Steven's actually been able to take a lot from what other competitors have done in D2. Again, he's also on house money. I think Ghost is really trying to find a way to make it out here, so I think there's going to be a little bit more pressure on his side. Ghost plays a really fast style, so I don't know how well Steven's going to be able to do for that, but one thing I've noted from Steven is he's really good at adapting to the opponent, and I mean, we've seen that throughout the D2 season. We especially saw that in the championship where he lost 5-1 the background, then came back to win 5-4 and then 5-1 in the reset, so I think Steven's good at adapting to the opponent, and I think with the way this goes, I actually think he starts off strong with a win here, so I'm actually going to go for the shock here with a 4-2 win for Steven.
All right, we'll move over to the next game. That will be also on a Sunday. 3 Sunday games. We have JT DJ in Group A. I think JT's just got a lot of momentum. G, I think this is going to be the only. I'm going to go 4-2 again. Here's why I think DJ will find something in the early games, believe it or not, to get this to maybe a 3-1 situation. But I think JT just cuts his losses here. So I'm going 4-1 game 5. DJ will get the last one. I think it's just too much JT. JT really is someone that plays a game of no power play. This is what he wants. And by the way, Brock is on a bye, so that's why we don't have him. We'll see him in week 2. I think he's going to be one of the favorites. But I think JT gets it done 4-2. I think DJ will learn the system and prepare for his next week. But I'm going to go JT all the way here. What do you think?
I'm going to agree. I'm going to go with I'm going to be honest here with my predictions. You're going to see a breakaway. In my opinion, I think there's going to be a breakaway in Group A. I have Turner winning this 4-2. Again, I think this style works for him. I think Curtis is going to bring a good fight. Will fight with the way he just kind of goes with the vibes, but I think this just works better for him. So I'd say he starts off strong, wins this 4-2. Curtis starts with not the best start, but gets 2 on the board. So I have Kurt Turner winning 4-2, and I think with this next match, you're going to see what's going to happen here with what I'm thinking happens in Group A.
Well, yeah. I think this game is too close to call. You look at Lane's style; it's very, very peculiar in a sense that it's very unorthodox at times, where he'll try to fade you off a little bit on ammo, and Toaster guy, stick it to the end, get to and play it where it lies. Too close to call. I'm going tie here. This is the only tie I see. I think these guys are just too evenly matched. I don't really have a read on either guy in the sense that they're in a playoff setting. The closest we can say is they both had that Final Four game, and arguably Lane should have won his, and Toaster guy got outclassed. So in my opinion, that just equals out. I'm gonna go tie. Too close of a match to call, G. And it's the finale of the round too.
I'm actually going to go for a different pick because I think actually this is just one where I think Lane could very easily get frustrated. I actually have this as a 5-1 for Toaster Guy. I think he gets away with it early, and then Lane just starts getting frustrated, and then it kind of just unravels from there. Because again, this is the group of people that I think Toaster Guy can do really well against in terms of like the quad 2 area. So I think he's going to take advantage of that real quickly, get the job done, and quickly gets out to a 3-point start on it with the 5-1 win and the good game differential as well. I don't know. I'm not feeling optimistic about how Lane Sanders is looking in this these first few weeks because he's going up against opponents that I think are really going to counter what he's able to do.
All right, G, we'll go to this next week because remember we don't want to do a Super League episode. These goes quick, so we'll find something. We'll recap the first two. That's how we're going to do this. Now these next week too. So I had the schedule here. You have to go off mine. We're going to start it off. So that means it'll be Sanford on a bye week 1. By the way, we don't see him, so we'll see Sanford in week 2. And gee, I must have cooked something on this match because the first match is going to be JT Lane. We both have JT win. I have Lane on a tie. You got Lane losing. I think JT is just too dominant in this match. This is what he wants again. He knows how to get the Lane. These are good buddies. He knows how to get Lane's skin. I think JT is too dominant here. I'll go another 4-2. I'm not going to say dominant in the sense that JT is going to go 5-1 or 6-0 because at this point he knows if he gets the win at 6 points, he's looking really good. I'm going to go JT right here. Gets the John. Ernsty's got to happen. I'm going JT. He's got the job on no power play. Lane will be under his skin. What do you think?
I actually think this is another 5-1 for Turner.
Oh boy.
Again, these first two matches do not work out well for Lane in my opinion. I just don't think it works out. I mean, again, Turner, this is the format he wants to work with, so I think this format works for him. Lane, we have no idea how this format's going to go for him. I just think this is a really not been a great matchup, not really a great matchup set up for Lane. So I have 5-1 Turner, and this is not going to be a great start for Lane. I'm concerned he's going to get frustrated, and that's going to unravel everything. I mean, once you get frustrated, it's very hard to recuperate from that. So I do feel like that is going to happen. So I have Turner winning this in another 5-1. Then Lane's going to start this the Super League with 2-10 with the group. So that's not really a great start, but we'll see what happens. I mean, again, I don't think we have ever seen. I don't think we saw a single 6-0 in the groups last year. I don't know if that's going to happen this year, but yeah, I'm just not very optimistic about Lane going into this.
I think Lamas was the closest one, believe it or not, last year. Lamas and the guy we don't name. Yeah, that was the closest guy. Yeah, so you got Lane with no points. I got him with 1 because he split with Toaster guy. Well, gee, here we go. I cooked something here. Toaster Sanford. It's a rematch. I think Sanford sells the score here, Jay. I really do. I don't think he's going to get the win, but last year he settled the score with some people, in a sense with myself when he played in a rematch. I think he settled the score against Arya in terms of a tie. I think he gets a tie. I don't know if he's going for the win right here. I think he's going to look towards week 3, 4, 5 because he was on that week 1 bye. That's the nice thing when you have a week 1 bye. Week 2 is more of a get up. You can get a tie. That's a good start, right? I think he'll settle the score here and tie it. I think Toaster guy will start with 2 points. Sanford gets 1. I think it's just too close to call. Sanford's evolved his game. He gets card history. I'm going to go 1 point apiece on this one. I'll go 3-3. I'll split it. What do you think?
This is where you're going to see where I feel like Group A is going to go because, again, I talked about a breakaway. I'm going to have 2 players with 6 points going into week 3. I have Toaster guy winning this 4-2. Again, this was a really rough match for Sanford back in May, I believe. And I think Toaster guy has trended in a better direction. I think Sanford trended in a bit better direction because he did it at the Final Four in July, but I don't know. This has not been the same Sanford as last year, and especially with how the groups went last year, I just don't have a lot of optimism going into this because especially with so many losing matchups he has into this, I just don't see. like he could maybe get a tie. I could see that, but I just don't see how he wins this. It's just many of these matchups just do not work out for him what he needs, and he has a lot of distractions off the table. So I don't know how focused he's going to be able to be. So I mean, in general, I just don't have a lot of confidence with this. But Toaster Guy, I have winning 4-2, and that would leave Toaster and Turner with 6 points going against each other in week 3, which that would be something, and then everyone else at 0. So that's what I have for Group A right now.
Yes, sir. Now this next game, G. This next game. Brock coming off a bye now, and then Stefan. Like I said, I don't know how to read Stefan matches, but this is a tough draw for us. This is Brock the Rock off a bye. I'm sensing this might be the only time I make this prediction. I'm going to go 5-1 here, Brock. This is William Brock we're talking about. This guy is known for just steady Eddie, no power play to the core. This is probably one of the only games I'll go 5-1. I think Brock is he's going to be a beast. He loves this format where there's no power play. I'm going WB. Starts us off with 3 points to start his campaign. What do you think?
I agree with you. I have a 5-1 for Brock here as well. I think this is a matchup that does not work out for Steven here, and I think if this goes the way I think it is, it's going to show on the table. Brock is just kind of locked in and focused for the most part, and I mean, if he needs to play with a little bit of table talk, he is able to, but I think he's just, the format works for him well. Steven's still a bit of an unknown here, and I think he's going to get a little bit frazzled here, and Brock's going to kind of run away with it, so I have 5-1 Brock favor. Yeah, that would leave Brock with 3 points because he had to bye week 1. So it would be a three for Brock, 3 for Steven going into week 3.
And that means Nam will be on a bye, which is interesting, and then it'll be Ghost Chime. Like, this is a tough read. I'm gonna have to pull the lane toasty here, G. I think it's 3-3. I think we're gonna split this one. Both
agree.
This is too close to call. You have Ghost that has the rapid style. Chomik with split ammo. I would say Chomik's really the only player in the group stage that literally just plays split ammo, right? And unless Allen would have won because he's the only other guy that does that really in the league, where it's just split ammo. One dimensional sometimes can work in a group stage because all you need is a tie. You're playing for a tie. I think Chomik will get his first point. Ghost, on the other hand, I got him at 4 points because I think you said he would lose. But I think Ghost is gonna find a way as well to get some momentum off the Stefan game, back it up, start with nice 4 points, and that will go from there. And I guess I'll say this here before you go, G. So Ghost is interesting. He's on a week 5 bye, right? JT's on a week. We saw how that worked. Those two guys, they've got to build it now. They've got to go. Week 1, 2, they got to go. Whereas other guys that can build up to it, especially the guys that pick week 3 and 4 by. Week 2 is interesting. As long as you have a good week 1, you're good. But yeah, I'm interested to see what's going to happen with our friend Ghost. And we'll see what Chomik will do. I think he'll be ready. But I'm going to go tie, like you said.
Yeah, I said it while you were talking. I agree. I think this is a tie. I think this is kind of the way both these players go. It's going to be a split. I think Ghost is going to want to bounce. If this goes, obviously this is assuming my prediction's correct, which, I mean, I'm going to be honest, it probably won't be. But, I mean, assuming Ghost loses that first one, he's going to want to get a bounce back here, and I think Chomik's a good way to get that bounce back. I do think they split, though, so that would leave Chomik with 2 points, Ghost with 1 point, and then Nam would have 1 point. So technically the group would look like 3-3-2-1-1, which would be interesting, but I think this will definitely be a closer group in general compared to Group A. But yeah, those are my personal predictions going into the first 2 weeks.
All right, G, we're not going to do the full bracket and all that stuff. I just want to know, we're going to probably do that when we get close to week 4. Who do you think the top 3 make out of each group? Who do you got?
I think for Group A, I don't see how you don't pick Turner to make it out as the winner. This format works for him. He's got good momentum, had a good season. Second place, I have Toaster Guy. Again, I think those two break away from the pack early and then leaves kind of a dogfight for the last 3. And then my third spot, I honestly think this could come down to a tiebreaker. I'm going to go with Curtis. I don't know. I think the way his season has gone, where this is the type of people he's able to beat with this the quad 2 area, I think it works out well for him. I have Sanford 4th, and I would have him losing on a tiebreaker, and then I have Lane Sanders 5th. I just do not have faith in Lane with this. I just don't think this format works for him, and I think with the mentality issues, especially after September, I am concerned with this. So I have Lane. I actually have Lane only getting a single point, in my opinion. So it's not looking. I don't think it's a great outlook for Lane. And then Sanford, I think, loses on a tiebreaker. So again, I don't have a ton of optimism for those two, and I think Curtis is a bit iffy. I think Curtis loses his first match out of the group, but yeah, those are my Group A predictions. What about you?
Almost the exact same. I'm going to go Toaster and Sanford a package deal. They both make it. I just can't count Sanford. JT wins the group. I think JT has just got something cooked on this format. I think he's going to get away with the week 5. No, no playing. I think he gets away with that. Just put it in face hand. I think JT and Sanford will be interesting. I think Sanford could possibly, the way the schedule lines up, may actually catch a break there. So I think Sanford might get a point there. I think he beats DJ. Toaster guy, I think if you look at him, he'll split it with, Lane. That's why I said, but there's opportunities against him with DJ, in my opinion. I think DJ, unfortunately, is just he's there, but I think another year he could be special. Lane, I think he could be 4th. I think he could squeak in at 4, but I think those top 3. I think I agree. There's a breakaway. It's really going to come down to G. Really, does Sanford find it right, or does DJ find in your case? In my case, it's really. So I have Sanford 3rd, right? So I guess Sanford has a little more than Lane, so it's a little bit different scenario. So we'll see. I think there's going to be a breakaway at some point. It's more the group that you could see it. So I'm gonna say with the Masters, more Masters in that group. There's more experience. I think it's all Masters or one rookie and a sophomore. So it's a little bit more heavy group on the Eagles. Now for Group B, this is a tough one. I'm gonna go WB and Nam are easily the 2 guys in. I think Brock will win the group. I think
I don't know.
that's my belief.
I think this group's more wide open. But go on.
That's my belief. I've been high on Nam since the start of this entire league. I call him a young pup, but I really think he's going to start turning into a bulldog now. It's time. Brock, Brock. This format's built for Brock. I mean, we had this format in the regular season. He probably would come to my door and give me a million kisses. Yeah, thank you, man. But unfortunately, this is not the regular season. It's only a special format. I think he's good. The last spot, G, I know you're good. This is going to be a little bit of a shocker here, right? But I actually think Tommy's going to find a way. Young Boss is going to find a way. When everyone thinks he ain't going to find a way, he's going to find a way. I really think all the slumps and all the doubt, he's going to use that as fuel and motivation to say, hey, you know what? Keep down me. Keep figuring out a way to do it because I'm going to show you. He gets in. I think he'll sneak in as the guy. Now, we are resetting the stuff, but I'm going to say he'll sneak in as that 11th guy or 12th guy, whatever, however we reset it. But, yeah, I think he'll get in. He'll be the last spot in. What do you think?
I actually agree with you. The 3 people that make it out, but I have it in a different order. I have it Brock, Chomik, Nam, and then for 4th I have Steven, and I have 5th being Ghost. I don't know. I'm a little concerned with Nam. I don't because the problem is a lot of the people he's beaten throughout the season were quad 3, quad 4, which you're not going to get any of that in Super League. Um, he doesn't have a ton. He doesn't have a ton in the quad 1, quad 2 area, and I think those wins. There's some things that kind of like were a bit glaring when you're in the game. Obviously, it doesn't matter when it comes to the resume, but I mean, in terms of how your expectations are going into it, I'm a little concerned. I think he does manage to escape, but I don't know how optimistic I am. I think it's going to be a dogfight for that last spot, and I think Steven puts up a good fight, but I don't know. I think there's just some things he still needs to work on a bit, but I think it'll be a good showing. I do think he gets a win against Ghost, but from there, I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a work in progress for Ghost and Steven. I think Ghost, the thing with him is the week 5, I almost would have rather seen him pick a week 2 who was out there, right, or week 3. No, not week 2. I think a week 3 was out there. Him risking it as the 3rd, 4th pick, he could have been a little bit better on the buy choice. I think he might have run out of luck. He should have picked week 5 as a play-in week or play. Steven, I don't know. I can't read until I see him play. You have more experience. I've seen him play a little bit. I just want to know if table talk works because he's going to be the guy. If it actually does work on some people, maybe it could have worked on Lane. Maybe it could have worked on the Toaster guy or DJ because those guys sometimes do it. But here, Brock ain't going to do it. I know Nam ain't going to do it. Ghost rarely doing it. I'd be surprised if Chomik does it. So realistically, I think it's just going to be a work in progress if he can tone that in. But I'm interested to see what happens. G. It's going to be a good Super League. We'll talk about week 1 and 2 recaps. We're going to recap it probably after week 2 because I want to get 2 weeks in. So we'll do the same thing after week 3 and 4. We'll do week 4, and then we'll do a special one for week 5 and into the old bracket stage. Give me a good one, G. We'll see what happens. A lot can go at it. A lot of people are excited for this. I'm excited. I know it's going to be a little bit more rapid pace due to the scheduling as we have to get in before Thanksgiving and all that, but it'll still be a fun time. What do you think? Any final thoughts before we close off this long one?
I mean, looking forward to it. I mean, I'm entering this as a spectator here, so I think I could give definitely more of a breakdown in terms of what specific players are doing and not try to have my Super League life in play for what could happen. So I'm viewing this fully as a spectator, even just an analysis in general or analyst in general. So looking forward to it. Going to be a different perspective, and I think we're going to see a lot of great Uno action. I mean, if the D2 Championship says anything, I think we're in for a good one because D2 Championship didn't have a single sweep in that entire one. I forgot to mention that during that segment.
Yes,
We apologize, but that didn't have a single sweep. So hopefully we have the same thing here in the Super League. But overall, that will do it, and looking forward to how this will play out this year.
Looking forward to it, man. Looking forward to it. It's gonna be a fun one. Both G and I are kind of specs because I'm on Del Bio. I'm just relaxing. Yeah, quote unquote relaxing. And G, obviously a spectator. His season's done.
We don't talk about it. But
Yeah, we don't talk about that. But we don't talk about that. But the point is, G, thank you for all the work, man. Appreciate you grinding in D2. Hopefully, come you, me, and Caesar, we can meet and just figure out some iron things, and we'll get D2 even better. But check us out, Apple Pod, Spotify, of course, and of course our home base YouTube. A lot of stuff coming here. A lot more media going to be coming for Super League, and we'll have a full media package to announce next year. Thank God. It'll be a lot more cleaner on that side. But thank you guys so much. Appreciate your support. And we'll see you back here for a little bit of a week 1-2 recap and make some week 3-4 predictions in about 10 days or so. Peace.